Welcome to Tuckin' Tales. Get cozy under your blankets, dim the lights, and let the world slow down for a while. Here, every story is made to pull you in, keep you guessing, and tuck you gently into the night. So relax, listen closely, and step into tonight's tale. The train arrived at Blackridge Station at exactly 11:47 p.m., though no one on the platform heard an announcement. There were no families waving goodbye, no porters shouting over one another, no children running beside the tracks, only fog, snow, and the low metallic breathing of an engine waiting in the dark. Blackridge Station sat at the edge of the northern mountains, far from the cities, far from the noise of ordinary life. Most nights, it was almost abandoned by 10. By midnight, even the station master would lock his office, turn off the lamps, and leave the building to the wind. But that night was different. That night, the lamps were still burning. That night, a luxury train stood at the platform like a polished black coffin. Its name was written in silver letters along the side, the Silver Meridian. It was an old private train, famous among the wealthy and powerful. The kind of train that appeared in newspapers whenever senators wanted privacy, movie stars wanted romance, or businessmen wanted to travel without being followed. It crossed the Blackridge Pass once a week, traveling overnight through the mountains before descending toward Seattle by morning. People said the train was beautiful. People said it was elegant. People said it belonged to a different age. But that night, beneath the fog and the snow, the Silver Meridian looked less like a train and more like a secret waiting to move. A man in a charcoal overcoat stepped out of the shadows near the ticket office. He carried a leather suitcase in one hand and a folded newspaper in the other. His shoes made slow, steady sounds against the wet platform stones. His name was Nathan Cole. Years ago, people knew that name. Detective Nathan Cole, the man who solved the Briar House murders when 3 police departments failed. The man who found a missing judge buried beneath his own courthouse. The man who could sit across from a suspect for 10 minutes, say almost nothing, and still make the truth rise to the surface like a body in dark water. But Nathan Cole was not a detective anymore. At least, that was what he told people. He had retired 3 years earlier, after one case too many, one dead child too many, one grieving mother grabbing his coat outside a courtroom and asking why justice had come too late. Since then, Nathan had lived quietly. He kept his apartment clean. He read old books. He answered letters rarely. He avoided reporters completely. And whenever someone asked if he missed the work, he always gave the same answer: no. But some lies are not told to deceive others. Some lies are told because a man cannot survive the truth if he says it out loud. Nathan stopped near the edge of the platform and looked at the train. Steam curled around the wheels. Snow fell softly through the yellow station lights. Beyond the platform, the mountains rose in the darkness, hidden but felt like giants watching from behind a curtain. He checked his watch. On bir, 47 p.m. The exact departure time printed on his ticket was 11:50. 3 minutes. 3 minutes before the train would begin its journey. 3 minutes before the doors would close. 3 minutes before 7 strangers would be sealed inside a moving room with a dead man waiting in their future. Of course, Nathan did not know that yet. No one did. A conductor stood beside the open carriage door, holding a clipboard under one arm. He was a thin man in his late 40s, with tired eyes and a professional smile that looked as though it had been practiced in front of a mirror years ago and never updated. "Nathan Cole?" the conductor asked. Nathan nodded. The conductor glanced at the list, then back at him. Something flickered in his expression. Recognition. Most people tried to hide it. Most failed. "Cabin 7, the conductor said. "First-class carriage. Dinner will be served shortly after departure." Nathan took his ticket back. "Is the train full tonight?" "No, sir. Only 7 passengers in first class. A few staff members. The rest of the cars are closed for private service." "Private service?" The conductor's smile tightened. "One of our passengers requested additional privacy." Nathan glanced down the platform. "Expensive request." "Yes, sir." "And you are?" "Daniel Brooks, senior conductor." Nathan looked at him for a moment longer than necessary. Daniel Brooks had a cut near his thumb, almost healed. His jacket was neatly pressed, but one sleeve was slightly damp, as if he had recently wiped something from it. His eyes kept moving toward the private suite at the far end of the carriage. Nathan noticed these things automatically. He wished he did not. "Rough night, Mr. Brooks?" Nathan asked. Daniel gave a quiet laugh. "Every night on a train is rough until everyone is asleep. That happen often? On this train?" Daniel looked toward the carriage door. "No, sir, not often." Nathan stepped inside. The warmth of the train wrapped around him immediately. The first-class carriage smelled of polished wood, old leather, expensive perfume, cigar smoke, and winter coats drying near hidden vents. Brass lamps glowed along the walls. The carpet was deep red. The corridor stretched ahead of him, narrow and shining, with cabin doors on one side and dark windows on the other. Outside the windows, the platform lights blurred behind the fog. Inside, everything looked calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that exists before music starts in a horror film. Nathan walked slowly down the corridor. He passed cabin 1 first. The door was partly open. Inside, a woman stood before a small mirror, removing pearl earrings with trembling fingers. She was in her early 30s, maybe younger, though exhaustion made it difficult to tell. She wore a cream-colored coat, elegant but simple, and her dark hair was pinned carefully above her neck. Her name, according to the brass card near the door, was Evelyn Blackwell. Nathan saw the name before he saw the bruise. It was half hidden beneath her sleeve, dark purple near the wrist in the shape of fingers. She caught him looking. For 1 second, her eyes met his. There was fear there. Not surprise, not embarrassment, fear. Then she pulled the sleeve down quickly and turned away from the mirror. Nathan continued walking. Cabin 2 was occupied by a broad-shouldered man with silver hair and the posture of someone who still heard commands even in silence. A military coat hung from a hook beside him. A folded photograph lay on the table. The man was cleaning a pair of reading glasses with careful, controlled movements. His door was open just enough for Nathan to see the name card. Colonel Richard Hayes, retired. Nathan knew the type. Men like Hayes did not relax. They only waited in a different position. As Nathan passed, Colonel Hayes placed one hand over the photograph. Not fast, not nervous, deliberate, like a man protecting a grave. Cabin 3 was brighter, louder. A young man in his late 20s leaned against the doorway, laughing softly with a porter who was placing luggage inside. He wore a dark green jacket, expensive shoes, and the confident smile of someone who had learned early that charm could open doors faster than money. His name was Noah Reed. "Keep the change," Noah said, handing the porter a folded bill. The porter looked at the money and brightened. "Thank you, sir. No problem. And if the kitchen has decent coffee, you'll be my favorite person on this train." The porter laughed and left. Noah turned, still smiling, and noticed Nathan. For half a second, the smile remained, but his eyes changed. They moved first to Nathan's hands, then to his suitcase, then to the corridor behind him, then to the nearest exit. Nathan had seen that habit before. People who had lived through danger did not look at faces first. They looked for escape. "Evening," Noah said. Nathan nodded. "Evening. You look like a man who hates trains." "I look like that everywhere." Noah laughed, but not quite naturally. Nathan moved on. Cabin 4 was almost dark. A young woman sat beside the window, sketching in a black notebook. She had pale skin, dark hair, and a stillness that made the rest of the train seem too loud. Her pencil moved quickly, almost angrily, across the page. Her name card read, Lily Carter. Nathan slowed slightly. The drawing in her notebook was visible for only a second as he passed. A man's face, strong jaw, cold eyes, expensive suit. Then Lily turned the page before Nathan could see more. She had not looked up once, but Nathan knew she had noticed him before he noticed her. Cabin 5 held an elderly woman in a navy shawl. She sat upright beside a small suitcase, holding a silver cross between her fingers. Her white hair was pinned beneath a dark hat, and her face had the soft, tired kindness of someone who had spent a lifetime comforting others and had received little comfort herself. Her name was Margaret Whitmore. She whispered a prayer under her breath. At first, Nathan assumed she was afraid of traveling through the mountains at night. Then she opened her eyes and looked at him. Sharp, clear, measuring, not afraid, waiting. Nathan continued. The corridor narrowed near the private suite. There, standing beside the polished door, as if he owned the entire train, was Victor Blackwell. Nathan recognized him immediately. Not personally. Everyone recognized Victor Blackwell. His face appeared in business magazines, political fundraisers, charity galas, and legal articles that asked why certain investigations disappeared before reaching court. He was a shipping magnate, real estate investor, donor, collector, and professional survivor of scandal. He was tall, broad, and dressed in a black tailored suit under a cashmere overcoat. A gold watch gleamed on his wrist. A diamond pin rested in his tie. His gray hair was combed back perfectly, and his smile had the calm cruelty of a man who had never been truly punished. He was speaking to Daniel Brooks, the conductor. No, not speaking, correcting. "There seems to be a misunderstanding," Victor said. Daniel held his clipboard tightly. "Sir, I apologize, but the full first-class carriage was reserved in advance. I did not ask whether it was reserved. I asked why anyone has been placed near my suite. Mr. Blackwell, the suite is already separated from the other cabins. Not separated enough. I'm afraid we cannot remove passengers once they have boarded. Victor smiled. It was the kind of smile that made people step backward without knowing why. Mr. Brooks, everyone can be removed. The only question is cost. Daniel lowered his voice. The train departs in 2 minutes, sir. Victor's eyes shifted to Nathan. And who is this? Nathan stopped a few feet away. Daniel cleared his throat. Another passenger, sir. Victor looked Nathan up and down. His gaze was not curious. It was dismissive. First class used to mean something, Victor said. Nathan said nothing. Victor waited, perhaps expecting discomfort. Nathan gave him none. Finally, Victor said, "Do I know you?" "No." "Good. I prefer it that way." Nathan's voice remained calm. So do most people. Something small changed in Victor's face. Daniel Brooks looked down quickly, as if afraid a spark had landed near gasoline. Victor took one slow step toward Nathan. "You have a clever mouth for a man traveling alone, and you have a loud one for a man trying to keep a private carriage quiet." The corridor went silent. From cabin 4, Nathan felt Lily's attention sharpen. From cabin 3, Noah's doorway became still. Victor stared at Nathan. Then he laughed once, softly. "You must be one of those men who mistakes age for courage." Nathan met his eyes. "No, I mistake cruelty for weakness." For a moment, no one moved. Then Victor's smile vanished. He turned away, opened the suite door, and stepped inside. Before closing it, he looked back toward Daniel. "If I'm disturbed tonight, I will make sure this is your last journey on any train owned by anyone." The door slammed. The lamp glass trembled. Daniel exhaled slowly. Nathan looked at him. "Difficult passenger?" Daniel forced a smile. "Important passenger." "That wasn't my question." "No, sir, it wasn't." The train whistle screamed before Nathan could reply. A long, mournful sound that echoed through Blackridge Station and disappeared into the mountains. The Silver Meridian began to move, slowly at first, then steadily. The platform slipped backward. The station lights blurred behind fog. Snow tapped against the windows like fingers asking to be let in. Nathan entered cabin 7 and placed his suitcase on the bed. The room was small but luxurious. A single bed with a dark wool blanket, a writing desk, a brass lamp, a narrow wardrobe, a private wash basin, a window looking out into nothing. He removed his coat, folded it over the chair, and sat on the edge of the bed. The train rocked gently beneath him. For a moment, he closed his eyes. He had come here for quiet. That was almost funny now, because even before the murder, even before the scream, even before the blood on Victor Blackwell's shirt, Nathan could feel it. Something was wrong on the Silver Meridian. It was in Evelyn Blackwell's bruised wrist, in Colonel Hayes covering that photograph, in Noah Reed watching exits, in Lily Carter drawing Victor's face with hatred in every line, in Margaret Whitmore praying without fear, in Daniel Brooks looking at Victor Blackwell like a man staring at a locked door behind which someone he loved was buried. Nathan opened his eyes. The old part of him, the detective part, had already begun arranging the pieces. He hated that. He hated it because he knew where pieces usually led. They led to locked rooms, to bodies, to people crying under yellow lights, to truth arriving too late. A soft knock came at his door. Nathan stood and opened it. A porter waited outside. "Dinner will be served in 10 minutes, sir." Nathan nodded. "Thank you. Will you be joining?" Nathan looked past him, down the corridor. At the far end, the private suite remained closed. A thin line of warm light shone beneath Victor Blackwell's door. "Yes," Nathan said. "I think I will." Dinner was served at midnight. The dining car was beautiful in the way old things are beautiful when they are pretending not to die. White tablecloths covered each table. Silver cutlery shone beneath warm lamps. Crystal glasses reflected the moving darkness outside. The walls were paneled in mahogany, and small brass fixtures trembled gently with the motion of the train. Outside the windows, the world had disappeared completely. No trees, no hills, no sky. Only black glass and occasional snowflakes flashing white as they struck the light. Nathan sat alone at a corner table with his back to the wall. He always chose seats that way. Old habits are just scars with routines. Victor Blackwell entered last. He wore arrogance like another layer of clothing. Evelyn walked beside him, her face pale and composed. Not calm, composed. There is a difference. Calm belongs to people at peace. Composure belongs to people who know what punishment follows a mistake. Victor took the central table without asking. Evelyn sat beside him. Colonel Hayes sat near the aisle, directly across from Victor, though he never once looked at the menu. Noah Reed chose a seat near Lily Carter, but not too close. Close enough to protect, far enough to pretend he was not protecting. Lily sat by the window with her sketchbook beside her plate. Margaret Whitmore sat near the stove, where the heat touched her hands. Daniel Brooks moved between tables while two waiters served soup, bread, roasted chicken, and wine. For several minutes, there was only the sound of cutlery, train wheels, and polite silence. Then Victor Blackwell became bored. And men like Victor were dangerous when bored. He lifted his wine glass and looked at Colonel Hayes. "Colonel, is it?" Hayes looked up slowly. "Yes." "Retired?" "Yes." Victor smiled. "I suppose that must be difficult, spending your life giving orders, then waking up one morning to discover no one is required to obey." Hayes placed his fork down. "I adjusted." "Did you?" Victor swirled the wine in his glass. "I've always found military men fascinating. So much discipline, so much ceremony, so little imagination." Noah shifted in his chair. Lily's pencil stopped moving. Margaret's silver cross clicked once against her ring. Colonel Hayes said, "And I've always found men like you familiar." Victor raised an eyebrow. "Men like me?" "Men who send others to suffer and call themselves powerful because their own hands stay clean." The silence that followed was immediate. Victor's smile remained, but his eyes darkened. "Careful, Colonel. Bitterness is unattractive in old men." Hayes leaned back. "Truth usually is to those who fear it." Evelyn whispered, "Victor, please." He turned toward her. It was a small movement, just his head, but Evelyn became still at once. The whole car felt it. "Did I ask you to speak?" Victor said. Evelyn lowered her eyes. No. No, what? No, Victor. Good. Nathan watched her hands beneath the table. Her fingers twisted her napkin so tightly, the cloth began to crease. Victor looked around the dining car, pleased with the silence he had created. He enjoyed fear. Not anger, not disagreement. Fear. It fed something in him. Then his eyes landed on Lily. "You," he said. Lily did not look up. Victor tapped his glass once with one finger. "I'm speaking to you." Only then did Lily raise her eyes. "Yes? You've been drawing me since I entered." No. I've been drawing something with your shape." Noah lowered his gaze, but Nathan saw the edge of a smile. Victor leaned back. "Artists, always so dramatic. Tell me, do you sell your little pictures, or is poverty part of the performance?" Lily closed her sketchbook. "I don't perform for men like you. No. I imagine men like me are the reason women like you can afford train tickets." Nathan saw Noah's hand tighten around his fork. Lily's expression remained calm, but her voice changed. It became softer, more dangerous. "Men like you always think everything can be bought because you have never owned anything worth keeping." Victor stared at her. The dining car seemed to tilt slightly with the movement of the train. Daniel Brooks stopped pouring wine at the next table. Margaret Whitmore's eyes closed briefly, as if she had heard something painful. Victor's smile disappeared. Then he laughed. Slowly. "You should be careful, young lady. People who speak to me like that often regret it." Lily looked straight at him. Maybe they regret not doing it sooner. No one moved. For one strange moment, it felt as though the train itself had stopped listening to the tracks and begun listening to the people inside it. Victor placed his glass down. "Daniel." The conductor stepped forward quickly. "Yes, sir. I no longer want dessert served in this car. Send brandy to my suite." "Of course. Eddie, sir." Victor stood. Evelyn rose immediately beside him. He looked at her. "Sit down." She froze. "I'm sorry?" I said. "Sit down. I don't need your shadow following me tonight." Her face flushed with humiliation. Slowly, she sat. Victor turned and walked out of the dining car. As he passed Lily's table, he paused just long enough to whisper something Nathan could not hear. Whatever it was, Lily's face went white. Noah half stood. Lily caught his wrist under the table and stopped him. Victor left. The dining car remained silent for several seconds after the door closed behind him. Then the sounds returned. A fork touching a plate. A waiter clearing his throat. The wind brushing snow against the windows. Nathan took a slow sip of coffee. Across the car, Evelyn stared at the empty doorway. Colonel Hayes looked down at his covered photograph. Noah leaned toward Lily and whispered, "Are you okay?" She did not answer. Margaret Whitmore watched them both. Daniel Brooks stood near the serving station, holding the brandy bottle. His hand shook slightly before he forced it still. Nathan noticed. Of course he noticed. He always noticed the beginning. People think murders begin when the weapon is raised. They are wrong. Murders begin much earlier. In a glance, in a threat, in a memory someone has carried too long. In a room full of people who all stop breathing when one man speaks. At 12:38 a.m., dinner ended. The passengers left one by one. Colonel Hayes was first. He walked past Victor's empty chair without looking at it. Margaret Whitmore followed slowly, murmuring goodnight to no one in particular. Noah and Lily left together, though they separated in the corridor before reaching their cabins. Evelyn remained at the table for several minutes after everyone else had gone. Nathan stayed too, pretending to read the newspaper he had brought. Daniel Brooks approached Evelyn quietly. "Mrs. Blackwell, would you like anything before retiring?" She looked up as if waking from far away. "No, thank you." "Are you sure?" His voice was softer than a conductor's voice needed to be. Evelyn looked at him. For a brief moment, Nathan saw recognition pass between them. Not friendship. Not exactly. But something. Maybe pity. Maybe shared fear. Maybe history. Then Evelyn stood. "I'm sure." She left the dining car. Daniel watched her go. Nathan folded his newspaper. "You know Mrs. Blackwell?" Daniel turned quickly. "No, sir. Only as a passenger." Nathan said nothing. Daniel forced a small smile. "Would you like more coffee?" "No." "Then good night, Mr. Cole." "Good night, Mr. Brooks." Nathan returned to cabin 7. The corridor was dimmer now. Night lights glowed along the floor. Outside, snow streaked across the windows. The train rocked steadily as it climbed higher into the mountain pass. At the far end, Victor Blackwell's suite door was closed. Light still shone beneath it. Nathan entered his cabin and removed his shoes. He sat on the bed, opened a book, and read the same paragraph 4 times without absorbing a word. The train wheels beat softly beneath him. Metal on metal. A steady rhythm. A heartbeat. At 1:07 a.m., he heard the first door open. It was soft, careful, not the careless opening of someone going to find water. A deliberate opening. Nathan lowered his book. Footsteps moved past his cabin. Light steps. A woman's. They continued toward the private suite. They stopped. A knock. Silence. Then Victor's door opened. Nathan stood and moved quietly toward his own door. He did not open it yet. Through the wall, faint voices traveled in pieces. A woman speaking low. Victor answering sharply. Nathan could not hear every word, but he heard enough. "Passport. Ridiculous. Please. You leave when I say." Then a sound. A slap. Small. Sharp. Unmistakable. Nathan opened his door. The corridor was empty. At the far end, Victor's suite door was closed again. A thin line of light shone beneath it. Nathan remained still. A few seconds later, Evelyn Blackwell appeared from the direction of the suite. She was walking quickly, one hand pressed to her face. She did not see Nathan at first. When she did, she stopped. For one moment, she looked like a cornered animal. Nathan said softly, "Mrs. Blackwell." She lowered her hand. Her cheek was red. "I'm fine," she whispered. "I didn't ask." That almost broke her. Her mouth trembled, but she pulled herself back together with practiced skill. "Good night, Mr. Cole." She walked past him to cabin 1 and closed the door. Nathan watched the corridor after she disappeared. He had seen abused women before. He had seen the terrible mathematics of fear, how long a pause could last before a man became angry, how carefully a woman learned to choose words, how survival could look like obedience from the outside. Nathan returned to his cabin, but he left his door unlocked. At 1:31 a.m., another door opened. This time, the footsteps were heavier, male, slow, controlled. Nathan moved silently to his door and listened. The footsteps passed cabin 7, heading toward the suite. A pause, a knock. Victor's door opened. Nathan could hear a low exchange of voices. One voice belonged to Victor. The other was rougher, older, Colonel Hayes. Nathan could not make out the words at first. Then Victor said clearly, "Your daughter should have been more careful." The silence that followed was worse than shouting. Nathan's hand moved toward the door handle. Then Colonel Hayes spoke. His voice was low, steady, and full of something Nathan recognized immediately. Hatred that had aged into purpose. "Say her name again." Victor laughed. The door closed. Nathan stood in the dark, listening. For nearly 3 minutes, he heard nothing. Then a chair scraped. A thud. Not loud. Not enough to wake a train. But enough. The suite door opened again. Footsteps returned down the corridor. Nathan opened his cabin door slightly. Colonel Hayes passed without looking toward him. His face was pale. One button was missing from his military coat. Nathan noticed that too. At 1:44 a.m., Daniel Brooks walked down the corridor carrying a silver tray. On it sat a brandy glass, a small crystal bottle, and folded napkins. He stopped outside Victor's suite, knocked once, entered. The door stayed open for a moment before closing. Nathan waited. A minute passed, then another. Then he heard Victor's voice. Angry. "You?" Daniel's voice, quieter. Then Victor said, "Your brother was a thief." Something crashed. Nathan stepped into the corridor. Before he reached the suite, the door opened. Daniel Brooks came out quickly, carrying the empty tray at a strange angle. His face was gray. His right hand was clenched. He saw Nathan. "Mr. Cole, everything all right?" Daniel swallowed. "Yes." Mr. Blackwell dropped the glass. "I'm going to get a cloth." There was no broken glass on the tray. Nathan looked at Daniel's clenched hand. A thin line of blood ran between his fingers. Daniel turned away before Nathan could speak and hurried toward the service car. Nathan looked at Victor's closed door. The light beneath it flickered as the train moved. At 1:52 a.m., another door opened. Nathan knew by then sleep was impossible. He stood inside his dark cabin, listening. The footsteps this time were quick, young, impatient. Noah Reed. He moved down the corridor and stopped at the suite. No knock. The door opened. Maybe Victor had left it unlatched. Maybe Noah had forced it. Voices rose almost immediately. Nathan heard Noah say, "Where is she?" Victor answered, "You people are all the same." Then another sentence came through clearly. Grace screamed too. Something hit the wall. Nathan stepped toward his door again. Before he opened it, another sound came. A short cry. Not pain exactly. Rage. Then the suite door opened. Noah rushed down the corridor, one hand hidden inside his jacket. He passed Nathan's cabin so quickly he did not see him, or pretended not to. At 2:01 a.m., Lily Carter emerged from cabin 4. Nathan saw her from the gap in his door. She stood still in the corridor for a moment, barefoot, holding something small in her right hand. Not a knife. Not exactly. A thin artist's blade, the kind used for cutting paper. She looked toward Noah's closed door, then toward Victor's suite. Then she walked. Nathan opened his door slightly wider. Lily reached the suite. The door was not fully closed. She pushed it open and slipped inside. Nathan waited. The train entered another tunnel. The windows went black. The lamps flickered. For several seconds, the whole carriage seemed to disappear from the world. When the train emerged from the tunnel, Lily came out of the suite. She leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Her right hand was empty now. She looked down the corridor. Nathan stepped back into shadow before she saw him. Lily returned to cabin 4 and closed the door. At 2:06 a.m., the corridor fell silent. Nathan stood in the darkness of his cabin. He knew he should go to the suite. He knew something had happened, maybe more than one thing. But knowing and proving were different animals. Before he could move, cabin 1 opened again. Evelyn Blackwell stepped into the corridor. She had changed out of her dinner dress into a dark robe. Though her hair remained pinned from the evening, she moved like someone in a dream. In her hand was a key. Nathan watched her walk to Victor's suite. She paused outside the door for a long time. Then she entered. At 2:10 a.m., the train began to slow. Not suddenly, gradually. The wheels screamed softly as the brakes engaged. Nathan looked out the window. Snow whipped past the glass. Somewhere ahead, the engine whistle cried once. At 2:12 a.m., Margaret Whitmore's door opened. The old woman stepped out with her navy shawl wrapped tightly around her shoulders. She did not look confused. She did not look afraid. She looked like someone arriving at a place she had been walking toward for years. She moved slowly down the corridor, past cabin 4, past cabin 3, past cabin 7. Nathan opened his door, fully now. Mrs. Whitmore. She stopped. Her face turned toward him. For a moment, the soft, grandmotherly expression disappeared, and Nathan saw the truth beneath it. Grief, ancient, burning. She placed one finger gently to her lips. Some prayers must be said in private, Mr. Cole. Then she continued toward Victor Blackwell's suite. Nathan took one step after her. At that exact moment, the Silver Meridian screamed to a halt. The sudden stop threw Nathan against the wall. A glass shattered somewhere. The lamps flickered violently. A suitcase fell inside one of the cabins. Metal groaned beneath the train. Then came the scream. A woman's scream. High, raw, terrified. It tore through the carriage and seemed to wake every secret at once. Nathan ran. Cabin doors opened behind him. Noah appeared barefoot. Lily stumbled out, clutching her sketchbook. Colonel Hayes emerged already dressed, as if he had never gone to bed. Daniel Brooks came running from the service car. Margaret Whitmore stood outside Victor's suite with one hand pressed against the doorframe. And inside the suite, Evelyn Blackwell stood over her husband's body. Her face was white, her mouth open, her hands covered in blood. Victor Blackwell lay on the floor beside the bed. His shirt was soaked dark red. His eyes were open. His gold watch still ticked on his wrist, and on his face, frozen forever, was an expression Nathan had seen many times before. Not fear, not pain, surprise. The surprise of a powerful man discovering that death does not accept bribes. For a moment, nobody moved. The train had stopped, but everything inside it seemed to keep shaking. The lamps flickered once more, then steadied. Snow brushed hard against the windows. Steam hissed somewhere beneath the floor. From the front of the train, distant voices shouted through the storm, but inside the first-class carriage, all Nathan could hear was Evelyn Blackwell breathing. Short, broken breaths, like someone trying not to drown. She looked down at her hands. Blood covered her fingers. Then she looked at Nathan. "I didn't," she whispered. No one answered. Her voice cracked. "I didn't do this." Nathan stepped into the suite. "Everyone stay where you are." Noah Reed was behind him in the corridor. "Is he dead?" Nathan crouched beside Victor Blackwell. He checked the neck first. No pulse. Then the wrist. Nothing. Victor's skin was still warm, but the life had gone out of him completely. His eyes stared up at the ceiling with that fixed, offended expression, as if the universe had broken a contract he had personally signed. Nathan stood slowly. "Yes," he said, "he's dead." Lily Carter made a soft sound behind him. Not quite a gasp, not quite a sob. Colonel Hayes did not react at all. Margaret Whitmore closed her eyes and whispered something too low for anyone to hear. Daniel Brooks stood frozen near the corridor wall, his conductor's cap in one hand, his other hand hidden against his coat. Nathan looked around the room. The suite was larger than the other cabins, almost twice the size. A private bed stood against the far wall. A polished writing desk sat beside the window. There was a small table with a half-empty brandy bottle, a broken glass on the carpet, and a dinner tray that had been pushed aside. The window was open, not fully, only a few inches. Cold air slipped into the room and made the curtains tremble. Papers were scattered across the floor. One chair had been knocked over. A dark smear of blood marked the edge of the desk. Near Victor's right hand lay a torn piece of white cloth. Near his left shoe, a gold cufflink. Nathan did not touch anything yet. He looked first. Always look first. A crime scene is a sentence written by panic. Touch it too soon, and you erase the words before you know how to read them. Evelyn remained standing near the body, trembling. Nathan turned to her. "Step back slowly. I didn't kill him. Step back." She obeyed. Her bare foot left a faint red mark on the carpet. Nathan looked at it, then at her hands. "Did you touch the body?" I don't know." "You don't know?" "I came in and he was on the floor. I thought maybe he was hurt. I turned him slightly. I think I touched his chest." "And your hands became this bloody?" She looked at her palms again, as if they belonged to someone else. "I don't remember." Noah spoke from the doorway. "She's in shock." Nathan looked at him. "You seem certain." Noah's mouth tightened. I'm looking at her. Nathan looked past him. Mr. Brooks. Daniel flinched. Yes? Why did the train stop? Daniel blinked, almost grateful for a question that was not about blood. Snow slide ahead. The engineer saw debris on the track and stopped before we hit it. How long are we stuck? I don't know. The crew is checking now. The pass is narrow. If the track is blocked, we may be here for hours. Can anyone leave the train? Daniel glanced toward the window. In this storm? No. We're on a high pass with a drop on one side and rock on the other. There is nowhere to go. Communication? The radio is unreliable in the pass. Sometimes it works near the ridge, sometimes not. I'll have the engineer try again. Do that later. For now, no one leaves this carriage. Noah frowned. You can't seriously think one of us did this. Nathan turned fully toward him. A man is dead in a locked train during a snowstorm. I don't have the luxury of thinking anything else. Colonel Hayes spoke calmly. The police should handle this. They will when they arrive. And until then, Nathan looked at each of them. Until then, this room remains untouched, and every person here remains available. Noah said, available? We're passengers, not prisoners. Nathan stepped closer to him. You are whatever the circumstances make you. Tonight, circumstances have been unkind. The corridor went quiet again. Nathan looked toward Lily. Her face was pale, but her eyes were fixed not on Victor's body, but on the desk. Interesting. Then he looked at Margaret. The old woman's navy shawl was wrapped tightly around her, but one loose thread hung near the edge. Also interesting. Nathan looked back at Daniel. The conductor's hidden hand had left a small red mark on his coat. Very interesting. Nathan spoke clearly. Everyone return to the dining car. Sit where I can see you. Do not enter your cabins. Do not wash your hands. Do not change clothes. Do not remove anything from your pockets. Noah gave a bitter laugh. And if we refuse? Nathan did not raise his voice. Then I start with you. Noah stopped laughing. Daniel Brooks straightened. Please, everyone, do as Mr. Cole says. Detective Cole, Margaret whispered. Nathan looked at her. She held his gaze for a moment. You are Detective Nathan Cole, aren't you? The name moved through the corridor. Evelyn turned her head slowly. Lily's eyes sharpened. Noah's expression changed. Colonel Hayes gave Nathan a long look, as if rearranging a file in his mind. Daniel looked relieved and terrified at the same time. Nathan hated that name when people said it like a prayer. He looked back at Victor's body. Not anymore. Then he paused. But tonight, close enough. The passengers moved toward the dining car. Evelyn was the last to leave. She looked once at Victor, then at Nathan. He was alive when I left him earlier. Nathan said nothing. I swear to God. Nathan looked at her bloody hands. God is not taking statements tonight, Mrs. Blackwell. I am. She lowered her eyes and followed the others out. Nathan closed the suite door halfway and turned back to the room. Now he was alone with Victor Blackwell. The train creaked in the storm. The dead man stared. Nathan breathed slowly. It had been 3 years since he had stood over a murder victim in the first silence after death. He had forgotten the smell. Not blood itself. Blood was only iron and warmth. What he had forgotten was the heaviness around it, the way a room changed after a person died violently, the way every object seemed guilty simply because it had survived. He took a handkerchief from his pocket and used it to open his suitcase, which he had brought from cabin 7. Inside was nothing dramatic. No badge, no gun, no official case file. Only old habits. A small flashlight, a notebook, a pencil, a pair of leather gloves. Nathan put on the gloves. Then he began. Victor Blackwell lay on his back, though not naturally. His left shoulder was twisted slightly. One leg was bent at an angle that suggested he had fallen while turning. His right hand was open, palm upward. His left hand was curled near his chest. Nathan counted the visible wounds. 1 near the side, narrow and deep. 2 near the chest. 1 near the upper shoulder. Several across the abdomen. 1 lower, close to the ribs. Another at the collarbone. Too many. Far too many for a clean killing. But the wounds were not the same. That mattered. A single murderer, even in rage, usually creates a rhythm. The same angle, the same strength, the same hand returning again and again to the same violence. This was different. This looked like an argument between weapons. Nathan leaned closer. The wound in the side was narrow, clean, likely made by something slim and sharp. A letter opener, maybe. Something from the room. The 2 chest wounds were deeper, made with strength, controlled, direct. The shallow wounds near the abdomen were less confident, trembling, hesitant. The collarbone wound was angled downward, a taller attacker. The lower rib wound angled upward, a shorter attacker. Nathan looked at Victor's face. "You were popular tonight," he murmured. He examined the hands. No defensive wounds on the palms, but scratches near the wrist. Victor had grabbed someone, or someone had tried to pull away. Under one fingernail, there was a dark thread. Nathan made a note. The broken glass lay near the desk, not near the body. A brandy bottle sat uncorked. The glass had shattered outward, not simply dropped. It had struck something first. Maybe the wall. Maybe another person. Nathan moved to the writing desk. The top drawer was open. Inside were envelopes, a fountain pen, a sealed cigar case, and an empty velvet slot where something long and narrow had rested. A letter opener. Daniel had said Victor dropped the glass. Daniel had also had blood on his hand. Nathan looked toward the stove vent near the wall. No stove here, but the service car had one. Lotter. On the desk were several papers. Most were business documents, shipping manifests, legal correspondence, a hotel reservation, a private security contract. Nothing unusual for a man like Victor Blackwell. But beneath them was a torn corner of a photograph. Nathan picked it up carefully. It showed part of a young girl's face. Only one eye, part of a smile, and dark hair against a pale background. He turned it over. There was writing on the back. A single name, cut in half by the tear. Anna. Nathan placed it on the desk again. He looked around. Near the window, the curtain moved in the cold air. The window was open just enough to create the idea of escape, not enough to allow it. A grown man could not have climbed through without leaving marks on the frame, snow on the carpet, or damage to the latch. Nathan crouched beneath it. The sill was damp from blown snow, but undisturbed except for one thing: a thread of navy wool caught on a splinter. Margaret. He removed it with tweezers from his small kit and placed it in an envelope from Victor's desk. Then he checked the floor. A faint smear of blood led from the body toward the door, but not one continuous trail, more like several marks made by different shoes, some stepping in blood, some stepping near it. Near the bed, partly hidden beneath the blanket, he found a dark green button. Colonel Hayes. Near the desk leg, he found something tiny, a broken pencil tip. Lily. Outside the suite door, he already knew he had seen Noah's cigarette case earlier. Inside the room, near the overturned chair, he found a folded napkin stained with blood and a small fruit knife wrapped inside it. Evelyn. Nathan stood. 6 passengers, 6 pieces, 6 roads leading to one dead man. But there was more. There always was. He returned to the desk and searched again. Men like Victor Blackwell did not travel without secrets. They kept secrets close, not because they feared losing them, but because possession made them feel powerful. The left drawer was locked. Nathan looked around the room until he found Victor's key ring in the inside pocket of his suit jacket. He removed it carefully and tried 3 keys before the drawer opened. Inside was a leather folder, black, unmarked. Nathan opened it. The first page contained names, dozens of names, some handwritten, some typed, some crossed out, some circled in red ink. Nathan read slowly. Emily Hayes, Grace Reed, Anna Carter, Thomas Whitmore, Michael Brooks, Evelyn Parker. He stopped. Evelyn Parker, not Blackwell, her maiden name. Beside each name were dates, locations, initials, payments, and notes that looked like inventory written by a man who had forgotten people were human. Next to Emily Hayes, reporter problem resolved. Next to Grace Reed, Chicago transfer failed, family inquiry active. Next to Anna Carter, original file destroyed, sister likely aware. Next to Thomas Whitmore, minor asset lost, grandmother persistent. Next to Michael Brooks, warehouse leak, payment sent. Next to Evelyn Parker, marriage contained, travel risk. Nathan's jaw tightened. He had seen evil written in many forms: confession letters, threats, photographs, accounting books, medical reports. But there was something uniquely obscene about neat handwriting attached to destroyed lives. At the bottom of the final page, Victor had written a sentence in black ink: "Loose ends travel tonight." Nathan closed the folder. The room seemed colder now. He looked at Victor Blackwell's body again, at the wounds, at the open eyes, at the expensive watch still ticking on his wrist. For the first time that night, Nathan wondered not who wanted Victor dead. That question was easy. The real question was whether Victor had boarded the train intending to become the victim, or whether he had boarded intending to make sure others disappeared first. Nathan placed the folder inside his coat. Then he stepped out of the suite and locked the door behind him. The dining car had changed. Before dinner, it had been elegant. Now it looked like a waiting room outside a judge's chamber. Evelyn sat near the window, with her hands still stained dark red. She had not tried to clean them. That was either obedience or shock. Colonel Hayes sat straight back, staring at nothing. Noah Reed leaned forward with his elbows on his knees, one foot tapping fast against the carpet. Lily Carter sat with her sketchbook closed in her lap, holding it as if someone might take it from her. Margaret Whitmore sat near the stove, her silver cross between both hands. Daniel Brooks stood by the serving station, pale and silent. Nathan entered. All eyes turned toward him. Noah spoke first. "Well?" Nathan removed his gloves slowly. "Well, what? Do you know who did it?" Nathan looked at the 6 faces before him. Yes, the word struck harder than he expected. Evelyn looked up sharply. Daniel went still. Lily's fingers tightened around the sketchbook. Noah stood. "Then say it." Nathan placed the gloves on the table. "I know enough to know that none of you has told me the truth." Colonel Hayes said calmly, "That is not the same thing." "No, it is the doorway to it." Nathan looked at Daniel. "Mr. Brooks, I need the carriage secured. No staff enters unless I allow it. The engineer and crew stay forward. If communication becomes possible, inform me before contacting anyone." Daniel hesitated. "Is that legal?" Nathan almost smiled. "No, but neither is murder, and murder arrived first." Daniel nodded. Nathan turned to the passengers. "I will question each of you separately in the lounge. The rest of you remain here." Noah crossed his arms. "And if we ask for lawyers?" "You may ask. The mountains may answer. Until the police arrive, this is not a formal interrogation. You are free to refuse." "Good. But refusal will tell me something too." Noah sat down. Nathan looked at Evelyn. "Mrs. Blackwell, you first." She rose slowly. For a second, her knees seemed ready to fail. Nobody helped her. Not because they did not care. Because every person in that room was afraid that touching her would reveal something. Nathan led her into the lounge car. It was smaller than the dining car, with 2 velvet chairs, a narrow sofa, a brass lamp, and shelves of unread books. The windows were black with storm. Evelyn sat on the edge of the sofa. Nathan sat opposite her. He opened his notebook. "Start from dinner." She stared at her hands. "There's blood under my nails." "Yes, I keep thinking if I look away, it won't be there when I look back." "It will." She swallowed. "I didn't kill him." "Then tell me what did happen." She laughed once, quietly, without humor. "You want the truth?" "I usually do." "That's a dangerous habit." "So is lying to a detective." Evelyn looked at him. For the first time, some of the fear faded. Beneath it was intelligence, pain, yes, but also calculation. She was not weak. Victor had simply spent years trying to make her believe she was. "I went to Victor after dinner," she said. "A little after 1. For your passport." Her eyes flickered. "You heard?" "I heard enough. He kept it locked in his suitcase. He kept my bank cards too, my phone most days. I had a friend waiting for me in Seattle. She was going to help me leave." End quote. End quote. "Who?" Evelyn hesitated. "Natalie Moore, college roommate. She doesn't know everything, only enough." "Victor knew?" "I think so." Victor always knew more than he should. What happened in the suite? I asked him calmly. I told him I wasn't making a scene. I just wanted my documents. He poured himself a drink and laughed. What did he say? That I was ungrateful. That women like me mistake comfort for prison because we've never seen a real cage. Her voice became thinner. Then he said if I left him, he would make sure nobody found me. Nathan wrote nothing for a moment, and then he hit you. Yes. With his hand? She nodded. Did you hit him back? No. Did you take anything from the room? Her eyes dropped. Nathan waited. A key, she whispered. What key? To his suitcase. Where is it? In my robe pocket. Give it to me. She reached into the pocket and placed a small brass key on the table. Nathan took it. You returned later? Yes. When? I don't know exactly. Guess. After 2. Maybe 2:05. Why? I thought he might be asleep, drunk, anything. I thought I could unlock the suitcase and take my passport. Was the suite door locked? No. Was Victor alive? She closed her eyes. Yes. Nathan leaned forward. When you entered, where was he? On the floor, by the bed. Already bleeding? Yes. Conscious? Yes. What did he say? Evelyn's hands began to tremble. He smiled. Nathan said nothing. He was bleeding, and he still smiled. He said, "Look what they've done. Help me, Evelyn, and I may forgive you." End quote. Her mouth twisted. Then he grabbed my ankle. Nathan looked at her bare feet. There was a faint red mark around her right ankle. He grabbed you. Yes. And? He told me if I screamed, he would tell the police I did it. He said they would believe him, even dead. Her breathing grew faster. He said I belonged to him, alive or dead. What did you do? I pulled away. Only that? She looked at Nathan. Tears filled her eyes. No. Nathan waited. I saw the fruit knife on the tray. It had fallen near the bed. I picked it up and stabbed him. She covered her mouth. I don't know if I killed him. You stabbed him. Yes. How many times? Once, maybe twice. I don't remember. He was trying to hold my leg. I just wanted him to let go. And then I dropped the knife. I found the suitcase key in his pocket. I think I took it then. Then the train started slowing. I heard someone outside the door. I panicked. Who? I don't know. Man? Woman? I don't know. I heard breathing, maybe footsteps. I stepped back. Then the train stopped, and I screamed. Nathan studied her. Did you see anyone else in the suite? No. Did you open the window? No. Did you know the others? She looked confused. What? Before tonight, did you know the other passengers? No. Not Colonel Hayes? Noah Reed? Lily Carter? Margaret Whitmore? Daniel Brooks? No. Nathan watched her face carefully. She seemed truthful, but truth in pieces can still hide a larger lie. He said, "Your maiden name is Evelyn Parker." Her body stiffened. How do you know that? Victor kept records. The fear returned instantly. What records? Did Victor ever mention Emily Hayes? No. Grace Reed? No. Anna Carter? Evelyn shook her head, but slower now. Thomas Whitmore? Michael Brooks? I don't know those names. Did he ever tell you why he chose this train? No. He said it was private. He said he had business in Seattle. Nathan leaned back. Mrs. Blackwell, I believe Victor had plans for more than business. Her face changed. What kind of plans? I'm still learning. She looked down at her bloody hands. Was he going to hurt me? Nathan did not answer immediately. Then he said, I think he already had. Evelyn closed her eyes. The tears finally fell, but she made no sound. Nathan stood. Return to the dining car. Send Colonel Hayes in. As she rose, Evelyn whispered, Mr. Cole. Nathan looked at her. I know what I did was wrong. He waited. But I don't know if I'm sorry. Nathan held her gaze. Those are not always the same question. She left. Colonel Richard Hayes entered moments later. He did not look frightened. That was the first thing Nathan noticed. Fear is useful. Guilt and innocence both wear it in different ways. But Hayes carried something heavier than fear. Readiness. He sat before Nathan without being asked. You found the button, he said. Nathan placed the dark green button on the table. Yes. Hayes looked at it. Then let's not waste each other's time. Good. Tell me about Emily. At the sound of the name, something flickered in the colonel's face. Not weakness. Pain disciplined by years of saluting through it. She was my daughter. I know. No, Mr. Cole. You know her name. You do not know her. Nathan closed his notebook. Then tell me. Hayes looked toward the window. Snow streaked past the glass, though the train no longer moved. Wind dragged it sideways, like white scratches. Emily was stubborn from the day she could walk. Her mother said she inherited my spine and none of my caution. She became a journalist because she believed light was a weapon. I told her, light also makes you a target. He swallowed. She laughed at me. Nathan waited. 6 years ago, she began investigating Blackwell Logistics. She thought it was a financial corruption story at first. Shell companies, illegal shipments, bribes. Then she found references to people, not goods, people. Girls moved through warehouses. Boys moved under false names. Witnesses paid off or disappeared. Did she go to police? Yes. What happened? Nothing. Then her apartment was searched while she was out. Her laptop stolen. She called me that night. She said, Dad, if something happens to me, don't let them call me paranoid. Hayes paused. That was the last time I heard her voice. Nathan said quietly, How was she found? Her car went off a mountain road in Oregon. Police said she lost control during rain, but Emily hated mountain roads. She would never have driven that route willingly. Her nails were broken. There was bruising around her wrists. The report ignored it. Victor Blackwell was connected? Hayes looked at him. Her final notes named him. You saw those notes? I saw copies. She mailed them to me. The originals disappeared with her. Why didn't you come forward? I did, for months. I spoke to police, prosecutors, federal agents, reporters. Doors opened politely and closed permanently. Then I received a call from a man I never identified. What did he say? Hayes's voice hardened. He said, If I loved my wife, I would let my daughter stay dead. Nathan wrote that down. Your wife? She was ill. Cancer. She died 8 months later. I'm sorry. Hayes nodded once, accepting the words but not using them. Tonight, Nathan said, you went to Blackwell's suite. Yes. At 1:31. Hayes's eyes sharpened. You were watching. I was listening. Then you heard enough. I heard him mention your daughter. Hayes's jaw tightened. He should not have done that. What happened inside? Hayes took a breath. I asked him whether he remembered Emily Hayes. He poured a drink and said he remembered many ambitious girls who thought paperwork could protect them. Then I told him I had copies of her files, that others knew, that his name would surface eventually. Was that true? No. Why say it? To see his face. What did you see? Hayes leaned forward slightly. Not fear, irritation, like I was a delay in his schedule. And then he said Emily should have been more careful. Nathan remembered hearing that sentence. What did you do? I crossed the room and hit him. With your fist? Yes. The chair overturned? Yes. He fell against it but got up. Was he bleeding then? Hayes hesitated. There was blood on his side. Before you hit him? Yes. So someone had already stabbed him. I believe so. Who? I don't know. Did you stab him? Hayes looked at the table. Yes. How many times? Twice. With what? A knife on the desk. Describe it. Black handle, short blade, not the letter opener. Nathan noted that. He had not found a black-handled knife. What did you do with it? I dropped it. It was not in the room. Then someone took it. Was he alive when you left? Hayes closed his eyes. Yes. Did he speak? Yes. What did he say? Hayes opened his eyes again. He said, you fathers are all the same. You arrive after the damage and call it love. For a moment, the room itself seemed to flinch. Nathan said, and you left him alive? I am not certain. I wanted him dead quickly. Did you see anyone outside the suite? Hayes nodded. Daniel Brooks. Nathan looked up. Where? Near the service car. He looked like he had seen a ghost. Anything else? Yes. Noah Reed was standing inside his cabin doorway. He watched me return. Did he speak? No. Did you know Noah before tonight? No. Lily? No. Margaret? No. Evelyn? No. Nathan watched him. You expect me to believe 6 people connected to Victor Blackwell boarded the same train by coincidence? Hayes gave a grim smile. I stopped believing in coincidence the day my daughter died. Then why do you think you were here? I received a letter. Nathan's eyes narrowed. What letter? Hayes reached into his coat. Nathan's hand moved slightly. Hayes noticed. I'm old, Mr. Cole, not stupid. He removed a folded envelope and placed it on the table. Nathan opened it. Inside was a typed note. The man responsible for Emily will be on the Silver Meridian, December 14th, Cabin Suite A. Travel alone if you want the truth. No signature. Nathan read it twice. When did you receive this? 2 weeks ago. Did you tell anyone? No. Why come? Because grief is very obedient when hope gives it an order. Nathan folded the letter. Return to the dining car. Send Noah Reed. Hayes stood. At the door, he paused. Detective. Nathan looked up. If you are looking for remorse, you may find less than you expect tonight. Nathan said, I stopped expecting anything from murder a long time ago. Hayes left. Noah Reed entered with anger already in his shoulders. He did not sit. Nathan gestured to the chair. Noah ignored it. Ask. Sit. No. Nathan leaned back. Then stand. It won't make you taller. Noah's mouth twitched despite himself. Then he sat. Nathan placed the cigarette case on the table. You drop this. Noah stared at it. Apparently, outside Blackwell's suite. So you keep saying, you went in after Colonel Hayes. Noah said nothing. Why? Because I heard him. Hayes? No. Blackwell. What did you hear? Noah looked away. He said grace. Nathan waited. That was my sister's name. I know. Noah looked back sharply. How? Blackwell kept a folder. The anger in Noah's face shifted into something more fragile. He had her name written down? Yes. For a second, Noah looked younger, almost like a boy. Then he covered it with rage. Of course he did. Men like that keep lists. They count what they ruin. Tell me about Grace. Noah's jaw moved. She was 17. She wanted to model. She was beautiful and stupid in the way hopeful people are stupid. Some woman approached her at a mall in Chicago, said she had the right look, gave her a card. My parents thought it was a scam. Grace thought it was destiny. What happened? She went to one appointment, never came home. Nathan said nothing. The police said she probably ran away. My father believed them for 2 days. Then he started driving the streets until he couldn't stay awake. My mother stopped eating. I was 22, old enough to search, too young to know where monsters keep doors. How did Blackwell's name come up? A girl escaped from a house in Nevada. She remembered Grace, said Grace had tried to protect younger girls. Said a man named Blackwell visited once, not to touch them, to inspect. Said Noah's voice broke slightly on the last word. He recovered quickly. I spent years following rumors, warehouses, shell companies, drivers, men who disappeared if they talked too much. Blackwell's name was always there, never close enough to grab. Why this train? Noah reached into his pocket and removed a folded note. Nathan already knew what it would look like. He opened it. The man who sold Grace will be on the Silver Meridian, December 14th, Cabin Suite A. Come alone if you want answers. Same typeface, same paper, same lack of signature. Nathan placed it beside Hayes's note. You didn't know Lily would be here. Noah looked down. No, but you knew her. Yes. How? Our families met through a support group for families of missing people. Lily was younger then. Her sister disappeared 2 years before Grace. We stayed in touch. You were protecting her tonight. Noah gave a bitter smile. I've been trying to protect people for years. I'm bad at it. What happened in Blackwell's suite? Noah's eyes hardened. I asked him where Grace was, and he laughed. What did he say? He said people like me always ask the wrong question. Not where she was, how much she was worth. Nathan's pencil paused. Noah continued. I hit him. He was already bleeding. He grabbed a knife from somewhere. Maybe the bed, maybe the desk. I don't know. We struggled. Did you stab him? Yes. How many times? I don't know. More than once. Yes. Where is the weapon? I dropped it near the chair. Not there now. Then someone moved it. Was he alive when you left? Yes. Did you see Lily? Noah closed his eyes. In the corridor. Before or after? After. She was standing there. I told her to go back. She looked at my hand and knew. Did she enter? I don't know. You do know. Noah opened his eyes. Leave her alone. Nathan's voice cooled. She entered a murder room holding a blade. Leaving her alone is no longer available. Noah leaned forward. She was 12 when Anna disappeared. 12. Do you know what that does to a kid? Her mother lost her mind. Her father drank himself into a grave. Lily grew up drawing missing posters instead of birthday cards. Nathan said nothing. Noah lowered his voice. If she did anything, it's because that man made her life into a cemetery. Nathan looked at him. And you? Noah laughed once. I was already a cemetery. Return to the dining car. Send Lily. Noah stood. At the door, he turned back. Are you going to arrest us? Nathan looked at the 2 notes on the table. I'm going to understand the night first. That's not an answer. No, Nathan said. It isn't. Noah left. Lily Carter entered quietly. She looked smaller without the distance of the dining car between them. Barefoot, pale, sketchbook held tight, her dark hair falling loose around her face. She sat before Nathan. Neither spoke for several seconds. Finally, Lily said, Noah told you. He told me some. He always tells some. He thinks half-truths are safer. They rarely are. Lily looked at the notes on the table. You got one too? Nathan looked up. You received a note? She opened her sketchbook. Between 2 pages was a folded envelope. Nathan took it. The man who took Anna will be on the Silver Meridian, December 14th, Cabin Suite A. Come alone if you want to see his face. Nathan placed it with the others. Did you know who sent this? No, yet you came. I've been imagining his face since I was 12. When someone offers you the real one, you don't ask many questions. Nathan studied her. Tell me about Anna. Lily looked down at her sketchbook. For a long time, she did not speak. Then she opened to a page and turned it toward him. It was a drawing of a young girl with bright eyes and a missing front tooth. My sister hated brushing her hair. She loved pancakes. She could whistle through her teeth after one fell out. She slept with a stuffed rabbit named Captain Blue. Her voice remained steady, but her hands did not. She walked home from school every day, 6 blocks. My mother could see the corner from our apartment window. One day, Anna turned the corner and never reached the building. Nathan looked at the drawing. How did Blackwell connect? A delivery van was seen near the school. No plates in the police report. But years later, a retired detective contacted my father. He said the van belonged to a subcontractor tied to Blackwell Logistics. He said the report had been edited. What happened to the detective? Heart attack. You don't believe that? I don't believe convenient death. Nathan nodded once. What did Blackwell say to you at dinner? Lily's face changed. He said, "Your sister cried less than you would." One. Nathan felt something in himself go still. He said that in the dining car, when he passed my table, low enough that only I heard. Did Noah hear? No. If Noah had heard, Victor would have died before dessert. After Noah left the suite, you went in. Yes. Why? To ask if it was true. What? If he remembered her. And did he? Lily's lips trembled. He remembered the rabbit. Nathan was silent. He remembered Captain Blue, not her birthday, not her laugh, not the way she sang in the bath, but he remembered the toy because one of his men took it from her and threw it away. Her voice became almost empty. I asked where she was buried. What did he say? He said, "Little girls don't always get graves." Nathan looked at his notebook, but did not write. Lily continued. He was on the floor, bleeding, still smiling, like he had won even then. I had my cutting blade in my hand. I use it for paper. I don't remember deciding. Where did you stab him? Near the shoulder. I think. I don't know. How many times? Once. Where is the blade? I dropped it. Not in the room. She looked up. Then someone took it. Was he alive when you left? Yes. Did you see Evelyn enter? No. Margaret? Lily hesitated. I saw someone near the end of the corridor after I returned to my cabin. Who? I thought it was Mrs. Whitmore. I wasn't sure. Nathan leaned back. You're all protecting each other, even when you barely know each other. Lily closed her sketchbook. Not each other. Then what? The dead. Nathan had no answer to that. She stood before he dismissed her. At the door, she stopped. Mr. Cole. Yes? If someone had stopped him years ago, none of us would be here tonight. Nathan looked at the 3 anonymous letters on the table. You may be right. She left. Nathan sat alone for several seconds. 3 letters. Same wording. Same date. Same destination. Victor Blackwell had not simply boarded a train full of enemies. Someone had gathered them. Someone had placed grief in one carriage and pointed it toward one man. The murder had many hands, but the trap may have had one architect. Nathan looked toward the dining car. There were still 2 people to question. An old woman with patient grief, and a conductor with blood on his hand. The storm outside began to weaken. Somewhere ahead, men shouted near the blocked track. Morning was still far away, but it was coming. And Nathan already knew that when dawn arrived, the truth would not look like justice. It would look like 6 broken people sitting under warm lamps, waiting to learn whether the law would punish them for doing what the law had failed to do. Then Margaret Whitmore entered the lounge before Nathan called her. She leaned on her cane, navy shawl wrapped around her shoulders, silver cross hanging from her fingers. She looked at the letters on the table. Then she looked at Nathan. I suppose, she said softly, it is my turn to speak for the dead. Margaret Whitmore stood in the doorway of the lounge car as if she had been expected by the room itself. The train was still motionless in the mountain pass. Outside the window, the storm had weakened, but snow continued to fall in thin, slanted lines against the glass. Somewhere far ahead, Men shouted over the wind while trying to clear the blocked track. Their voices came and went like memories heard through a wall. Nathan looked at the old woman. She was small, almost delicate, wrapped in the navy shawl that had left a thread near Victor Blackwell's window. Her silver cross hung from one hand. Her cane rested beneath the other. Her face was soft with age, but her eyes were not soft at all. Those eyes had waited years for this night. Nathan gestured to the chair. "Please sit down, Mrs. Whitmore." She smiled faintly. "Men always become polite when they want the truth. Only when they think they might get it." Margaret moved slowly to the chair and lowered herself into it. For a moment, she stared at the letters on the table, the letters that had brought Colonel Hayes, Noah Reed, and Lily Carter to this train. The letters that had promised answers and delivered blood. "You received one too," Nathan said. Margaret looked at him. "That is not a question." "No." She reached into the small handbag resting against her side and removed an envelope. Her fingers were thin but steady. She placed it on the table between them. Nathan opened it. "The man who took Thomas will be on the Silver Meridian, December 14th, cabin suite A. Come alone if you want him to remember." Nathan read it twice. Then he placed it beside the others. "Thomas was your grandson?" Margaret lowered her eyes to the cross in her hand. "Yes. Tell me about him." A sad smile moved across her face. "He loved trains." Nathan said nothing. He would have loved this one. When he was little, he used to stand by the fence near the tracks and wave at freight trains. Every single one. He believed the engineers waved back even when they didn't. I never told him otherwise. Her smile faded. His mother died when he was 5. My daughter, Rachel, cancer. His father was never in the picture. So it was just Thomas and me. I was already old enough to be tired, but he made me young in all the ways that mattered. She looked toward the dark window. He liked peanut butter without jelly. He kept worms in jars and called them pets. He hated math unless trains were involved. Then, suddenly, he could calculate speed, distance, time, everything. Nathan listened. He had learned a long time ago that before someone could describe death, they often needed to prove life had existed. Margaret continued. One Saturday afternoon, when Thomas was 13, he went to buy ice cream from the corner store, 3 blocks. I gave him $5 and told him to bring me vanilla. He said vanilla was for people who had given up on joy. A small laugh escaped her, then broke apart. He never came back. Nathan did not write anything. Not yet. The police said he had probably run away. That boys that age do. I told them Thomas would never leave his model trains behind. He had one engine, a little blue one, that he took apart and rebuilt every week. He called it the Captain. He would not leave without the captain. What did they find? Nothing at first. Then a witness said a black car had been near the store. Then the witness changed her mind. Then the security camera was broken. Then the detective assigned to us was transferred. Then everyone began saying words like closure and acceptance, which are words people use when they want grief to become quiet. Nathan's face remained still, but his eyes darkened. And Victor Blackwell? 2 years later, A young woman escaped from a house in Portland. She had been moved through different places: warehouses, private homes, empty office buildings. She remembered Thomas because he used to hum when he was scared. She said he helped a younger boy stop crying. Margaret closed her eyes. She said Thomas had been taken through a transport network connected to Blackwell Logistics. Did she see Victor? Yes, once. She said he came to inspect conditions after one of the children got sick. The word inspect seemed to poison the air. Nathan glanced down at the leather folder in his coat pocket, remembering Victor's neat handwriting. Minor asset lost. Grandmother persistent. What happened after she told you? I went to the police again. They said her testimony was unreliable. Trauma, drugs, confusion. I wrote letters to senators. I called reporters. I sold my house to hire a private investigator, and he disappeared for 6 weeks, then came back and told me to stop asking questions if I wanted to live long enough to mourn. Did you stop? Margaret looked up. No, Nathan believed her. How did you know to board this train? The letter came 11 days ago. No return address. I read it once, burned the envelope it came in, and bought a ticket. Why burn the envelope? I was afraid if I kept it, I would lose courage. You came to kill him. I came to see whether my hands were strong enough. Nathan leaned back. And were they? For a moment, the old woman said nothing. Then she looked down at her cross. I spent years imagining what I would say if I ever stood before him. I thought I would ask where Thomas was buried. I thought I would ask whether he cried, whether he was afraid, whether someone held his hand. I had thousands of questions, Mr. Cole. Thousands. What happened? I reached his door after the train began slowing. It was slightly open. The room smelled of blood and brandy. He was on the floor. Was he alive? Margaret's fingers tightened around the cross. Yes. Nathan watched her carefully. He looked at me and laughed. Victor Blackwell seemed to enter the room again through her memory. He said, "Another one. How many of you are there?" As if we were an inconvenience. As if grief itself had become poor manners. What did you say? I said Thomas's name. And? He blinked. He knew it. I saw that he knew it. Maybe not from love. Maybe not even from guilt, but from his records. Thomas had been a mark on a page to him. A number. A payment. A problem. But he knew the name. Her voice trembled now. Not from fear, but from the weight of finally saying it. I asked where my boy was. What did he answer? Margaret looked at Nathan, and in her eyes was the full shape of 15 years. He said, "Old woman, if I remembered every grave, I'd have no room left for business." Nathan did not move. For a moment, even the train seemed silent. "What did you do?" he asked. I opened the window. Why? I wanted the cold to touch him. I wanted the night to come in. I wanted the mountains to hear what he was. And then there was a knife on the floor, a small one, blood already on it. I picked it up. Whose knife? I don't know. Perhaps the woman's, perhaps the young man's. There were so many things on the floor. You stabbed him! Yes. How many times? Twice. Was he still alive? I don't know. Mrs. Whitmore. She looked at him. I truly don't know. He made a sound after the first time. After the second, nothing. Perhaps he died then. Perhaps before. Perhaps he only wanted me to think he heard Thomas's name. Nathan wrote finally. 2 wounds. Possibly after death. Did you see anyone else? Evelyn was in the corridor, leaning against the wall. She was covered in blood. She looked at me as if I were a ghost. Did she speak? No. Did you? No. What did you do with the knife? I dropped it near the bed. It was not there when I searched. Margaret looked genuinely surprised. Then someone took it after me. Nathan studied her face. She was not lying. Not about that. Did you open the window to help create a false escape route? She smiled sadly. I wish I could say yes. It would make me sound clever. But no, I opened it because I wanted him to feel winter. And the thread from your shawl caught on the frame. Yes. Nathan looked at the envelopes again. Do you know who sent these letters? No. Did you know anyone else on this train before tonight? Noah and Lily, perhaps by name. Families of the missing sometimes find each other. I may have seen their names in articles, online forums, support groups, but I had never met them. Colonel Hayes? No. Daniel Brooks? No. Evelyn Blackwell? Margaret hesitated. Nathan noticed. That is not a no. Margaret looked toward the door. I knew her maiden name. How? I followed Blackwell for years. Not physically. I am old, not invisible. But I read every article, every charity announcement, every photograph of him at galas with his hand on her back like she was property. When he married Evelyn Parker, I looked her up. Why? Because women do not marry monsters without either being blind or trapped. I wanted to know which she was. And what did you decide? Margaret's eyes softened. Trapped. Nathan folded his hands. One more question. Yes? Why did you enter before I reached the suite? You saw me in the corridor. Margaret smiled. And this time, it was almost kind. Because you looked like a man about to do the right thing, and I was afraid the right thing would come too late again. Nathan held her gaze. Then he nodded once. Return to the dining car. Send Daniel Brooks. Margaret stood slowly. At the door, she paused. Mr. Cole. Yes? When Thomas disappeared, people kept telling me I needed justice. Later, they told me I needed closure. After a while, I realized people use those words when they cannot bear the ugliness of what you actually need. And what was that? To look into the face of the person who turned your life into before and after. She left. Nathan remained seated for a few seconds. The lounge car felt smaller now. 6 victims' names. 5 anonymous letters. 1 dead man. And somewhere behind all of it, a person who had gathered them. Not by accident. Not by fate. By design. Daniel Brooks entered quietly. He had washed nothing. His right hand was still stained, though some of the blood had dried dark around the cut in his palm. His conductor's cap was tucked beneath one arm. Without it, he looked less like part of the train and more like a man whose uniform had been holding him upright. He sat before Nathan without waiting to be invited. I stabbed him, Daniel said. Nathan opened his notebook again. We'll get to that. There's nothing else to get to. There is always something else. Daniel let out a tired breath. You detectives never let a man confess simply. Simple confessions are usually incomplete. Daniel looked down at his injured hand. Victor Blackwell killed my brother, Michael Brooks. Daniel's head lifted sharply. You found the name? Yes. In his papers? Nathan did not answer directly. Tell me about Michael. Daniel's face changed. The fear remained, but something gentler appeared beneath it. My little brother was better than me. Most people began stories of the dead that way, Nathan had noticed. Not always with those exact words, but the meaning was usually there. Better than me, kinder than me, braver than me. The dead become impossible to compete with because memory edits them with love. Daniel continued. Michael was 12 years younger. Our father left when I was 17, so I helped raise him. He was funny, too trusting, the kind of person who apologized when someone stepped on his foot. What did he do? He worked maintenance at a warehouse outside Denver, night shifts mostly. He hated it, but the money was decent, and our mother was sick. Blackwell Logistics owned it. Yes, through 3 companies and a name that sounded like a law firm. Michael didn't know at first. Nobody did. What did he find? Daniel rubbed his eyes with his left hand. There was a locked basement level that workers weren't supposed to enter. One night, a pipe burst. Michael had to go down because nobody else was answering. He found rooms, mattresses, clothes, bags, a child's shoe. Daniel swallowed. He also found a girl. Alive? Yes, barely. She was maybe 14. She begged him not to call security. She said security was part of it. What did Michael do? He called me first. Nathan leaned forward slightly. What did he say? He said, Danny, I found something bad. I can still hear it. His voice was shaking. He sent me 3 pictures. The rooms, the shoe, a door with scratches on the inside. Do you still have them? No. Why? My phone was stolen 2 days later. And Michael? He disappeared the next morning. Daniel's voice broke. He never even made it home. His car was found near the warehouse with the door open and keys still inside. Police said maybe he ran because he was involved. They made him dirty before they even looked for him. Nathan's jaw tightened. What happened after? My mother received an envelope with $5,000 cash. No note, no return address. She understood before I did. She said they paid for burying him without giving me a grave. End. Nathan looked down at the cut in Daniel's hand. How long ago? 4 years. And you have worked on the Silver Meridian how long? 7 years. Did you know Blackwell would be on this train? Yes. How? Daniel hesitated. Nathan said, not from a letter? Daniel looked at the envelopes on the table. No, I didn't get one of those. That was new. Nathan stayed still. How did you know? Passenger manifest. Private booking request came through under one of his assistants. I recognized the company name. When? 3 weeks ago. Did anyone else ask about the passenger list? Daniel looked down. Yes. Nathan's pencil stopped. Who? I don't know his name. Describe him. Man in his 50s. Gray beard. Expensive coat. He came to Blackridge office 2 days after the booking, said he was part of Blackwell's security team and wanted to confirm carriage assignments. He had paperwork, good paperwork. What did he ask? Which cabins were available, whether outside passengers could book first class, whether the route had communication gaps. Nathan's eyes narrowed. And you told him? I thought he was security. Was he? Daniel looked miserable. I don't know. What else? He asked whether the private suite door could be locked from outside. I said no, not without the conductor's key. He asked about emergency stops, windows, staff movement. Nathan leaned back. The architect had a face now, though not yet a name. Did this man leave anything? No. Did he touch anything? A pen, maybe the counter. I don't know. Daniel's voice became sharper, defensive. I didn't know what this was. No, but you knew Blackwell would be alone in Suite A. Yes. And you requested this route? Yes. Why? Daniel stared at the floor. Because I wanted 5 minutes with him. What happened when you delivered the brandy? Daniel closed his eyes. I knocked. He told me to enter. He was standing by the desk, angry, maybe drunk, maybe just himself. Was anyone else there? No. Was he wounded? Daniel hesitated. No. Nathan's eyes sharpened. Think carefully. Daniel looked up. He was not wounded when I entered. You are certain? Yes. That changed the order. What happened next? I placed the tray on the table. He looked at me strangely, then asked if we had met. I said no. He kept staring. Then he smiled. He knew. How? He did. How? My last name, maybe. Brooks. Maybe he remembered Michael. Maybe he had a list. He did. Daniel flinched. Victor had kept Michael's name. That seemed to hurt more than the murder. What did Blackwell say? He said, "You have your brother's eyes." Daniel's hand curled. I asked what happened to Michael. I shouldn't have. I had promised myself I would stay quiet, but the words came out. And he answered? He laughed. He said, Michael was a thief who opened doors he should have left closed. Daniel's breathing grew unsteady. He said some people disappear because they cannot mind their own business. So you picked up the letter opener? Yes. From the desk? Yes. And stabbed him. Daniel looked at his hand. He grabbed the blade. That's how I got cut. Then it went into his side. He looked surprised, not scared, just surprised. Did he fall? He leaned against the desk. I backed away. I thought I had killed him, or would kill him if I stayed. I panicked. Was the glass broken then? Yes. He knocked it off the desk when he grabbed me. What did you do with the letter opener? I pulled it out. Why? I don't know. Panic, fear. Maybe I didn't want it left in him. Then I ran to the service car and threw it into the coal stove. Did anyone see you? Mr. Hayes, I think. Maybe Mr. Reed. What time? Around 1:44. Nathan nodded slowly. If Daniel was telling the truth, he was first. The first wound. The wound that opened the door to the rest. Why did you not raise the alarm? Daniel laughed softly, painfully. And say what? I stabbed the most powerful passenger on the train Because he murdered my brother? I was afraid. Then when the scream came and I saw him dead, I thought." He stopped. "You thought what?" Daniel looked up. "I thought I had done it. I thought maybe he staggered, bled out, died after I left. Then you said 12 wounds." Nathan watched him. "Did you send the letters?" "No." "Did you gather the passengers?" "No." "Did you know who they were?" "No, I swear." "Did you give passenger information to anyone besides the gray-bearded man?" "No." "Did Blackwell's security team board?" "No." "He requested no visible security, said he wanted privacy." "That does not sound like a man afraid of enemies." Daniel shook his head. "No, it sounds like a man who thought enemies were harmless." Nathan looked toward the dining car. "Or a man who thought he controlled the enemies." Daniel frowned. "What does that mean?" Nathan picked up the letters one by one. "It means someone sent 5 people onto this train by promising them Victor Blackwell. You learned he would be here through your work. Evelyn came because she was his wife. That accounts for 6. But someone made sure at least 4 of them came with grief sharpened and ready. Who? That is what I intend to find out." Daniel looked toward the corridor. "There is something else." Nathan waited. "At Blackridge, before departure, I saw a man on the platform." "The gray-bearded man?" "No, different. Younger, dark coat. He wasn't boarding, but he watched everyone who did. When Mrs. Whitmore stepped on, he tipped his hat." "Did she recognize him?" "I don't know. She looked surprised, maybe." "Could he have placed something on the train?" "Possibly. Staff were loading supplies. Doors open. People moving everywhere." Nathan wrote this down. "Anything missing from the train?" Daniel hesitated. The rear service compartment was unlocked when it should have been locked. "When?" "After departure. I noticed before dinner." "Did you check it?" "Yes." "And?" "Nothing obvious. Cleaning supplies, storage crates, emergency equipment. Can someone hide there?" "For a short time, maybe. But not once we began climbing. It's cold, cramped, no seats." "Show me later." Daniel nodded. Nathan stood. "Return to the dining car." Daniel remained seated. "Mr. Cole." Nathan looked at him. "If you decide to tell the police everything, I won't run." "I didn't think you would." "I don't want my brother remembered as the reason I became a murderer." Nathan's expression softened by almost nothing. "Then remember him as the reason you finally told the truth." Daniel left. Nathan stayed in the lounge car, looking at the letters. The case had changed. At first, it had seemed like a murder born from coincidence, grief, and opportunity. 6 people connected to one criminal, trapped with him in the mountains. But coincidence had now been removed from the carriage. Someone had sent the letters. Someone had asked about the train's communication gaps. Someone had studied the cabins. Someone had watched from the platform. And Victor Blackwell had written one sentence: "Loose ends travel tonight." The question was no longer whether Victor Blackwell had been hunted. He had. But hunters can also be bait. Nathan stood and walked back into the dining car. All 6 passengers looked up. They looked exhausted now, each in a different way. Evelyn's blood had dried on her hands. Colonel Hayes seemed carved from stone. Noah stared at the floor. Lily held her sketchbook closed. Margaret watched Nathan with quiet acceptance. Daniel stood near the serving station, no longer pretending he was only staff. Nathan placed the 5 letters on the nearest table. "You were brought here," he said. Nobody spoke. Colonel Hayes, Noah, Lily, and Mrs. Whitmore received anonymous letters telling them Victor Blackwell would be on this train. Daniel learned through the passenger manifest. Evelyn was brought by marriage. Each of you thought you were coming for answers. Each of you found the man who destroyed your life. Noah looked at the others. "You got letters too?" Hayes said, "Yes." Lily nodded. Margaret looked down. Evelyn whispered. "Victor said this trip was important. He said I had to come. I thought it was because he didn't trust me alone." Nathan turned to her. "Maybe partly, but he had your maiden name in his file. He called you a travel risk." Evelyn stared at him. "A what?" "A loose end." The words landed like ice. Colonel Hayes leaned forward. "Blackwell knew we were coming?" "I believe he knew enough." Noah stood. "That's impossible," the letter said. "Come alone." "Yes." "Then who sent them?" Nathan looked at the letters. "Someone who wanted all of you here. Maybe to kill Blackwell. Maybe to expose him. Maybe to watch what would happen." Lily's voice was quiet. "You think someone used us?" "Yes." Margaret closed her eyes. "Grief is easily led when it is promised a door." Nathan looked at Daniel. "You said a man asked about the carriage assignments. Gray beard, expensive coat." Daniel nodded. "Did anyone else see him?" No one answered. Then Margaret slowly opened her eyes. "I may have." Nathan turned to her. "At the station?" "No." She looked at the letters. "Years ago, the dining car went silent." "Where?" "At a courthouse in Portland, during one of the hearings connected to a Blackwell subcontractor. I went every day, even when they told me families had no standing, even when the judge dismissed the case." "Describe him." "Gray beard, tall, polite face, cold eyes. He sat behind Blackwell's attorney, never spoke." Nathan asked, "Name?" Margaret searched her memory. "I heard someone call him Mr. Vale." Evelyn made a small sound. Nathan looked at her. "You know him." Her face had gone pale again. "Caleb Vale." Noah said, "Who the hell is Caleb Vale?" Evelyn's voice dropped. "Victor's fixer." The words seemed to darken the room. "What does that mean?" Lily asked. Evelyn looked at Nathan as if asking permission to speak. Nathan nodded. Caleb Vale handled the things Victor didn't want connected to him. Legal threats, private investigators, payments, disappearances. I heard the name only a few times. Victor didn't like saying it in front of me. Colonel Hayes's eyes narrowed. "Is Vale security?" "No. Worse. He knows where everything is buried because he helped bury it." Nathan pulled the leather folder from his coat. Evelyn recoiled when she saw it. "Where did you find that?" "In Victor's desk," Evelyn whispered. "He never let anyone touch that." Nathan opened it. "Your names are in here. All of you, not just the missing. You, your addresses, routines, weaknesses, notes." Noah stepped closer. "Let me see." "No." "Why?" "Because you are angry enough already." Noah stopped. Nathan continued. "Victor's final note says, Loose ends travel tonight. That means he knew this journey involved you. It also means he may have intended to deal with you before the train reached Seattle. Daniel swallowed. There's no security team. Visible security, Nathan said. Evelyn looked toward the corridor. Caleb would not need a team. The train creaked. Snow brushed the glass. For the first time since the murder, everyone seemed to understand the same thing at once. Victor Blackwell might not have been the only monster aboard the Silver Meridian. Nathan turned to Daniel. You said the rear service compartment was unlocked. Yes. Show me. Noah immediately said, I'm coming. No. You think I'm staying here while some fixer is hiding on the train? Nathan looked at him. I think you are impulsive, armed by grief, and standing in a carriage full of murder evidence. So no. Colonel Hayes stood. I'll go. Nathan met his eyes. You too. Hayes did not sit. I am old, not useless. No. You are trained, angry, and just confessed to stabbing a man. That makes you the opposite of useful right now. Lily said softly, What if he comes here while you're gone? Nathan looked at Daniel. Can the dining car be locked from inside? Daniel nodded. Yes. Lock it after we leave. Do not open for anyone except me. If anyone else knocks, stay silent. Evelyn looked frightened. What if it is the police? The police are not walking through a mountain storm without making noise first. Nathan turned to Daniel. Lead. Daniel picked up a lantern from the service station. His hand trembled as he lit it. Nathan followed him into the corridor. Behind them, the dining car door closed and locked. The first-class carriage was dim and narrow. Cabin doors lined one side. Dark windows lined the other. The storm outside had calmed enough that Nathan could hear the train itself. Metal settling, pipes ticking, distant steam breathing under the floor. Daniel walked ahead with the lantern. They passed Victor's locked suite. Nathan paused. The door remained sealed. No movement. They continued toward the rear of the carriage, past the staff pantry, and into a colder section of the train where the luxury ended. The carpet thinned. The walls became plain metal. The air smelled of oil, dust, and old coal. Daniel unlocked a narrow door. This leads to the rear service compartment. Nathan put on his gloves again. Stay behind me. Daniel opened the door. Cold air spilled out. The compartment beyond was dark, except for the lantern glow. Crates were stacked along the wall. Cleaning supplies hung from hooks. Emergency blankets sat in sealed bags. A tool cabinet stood near the far side. A narrow exterior door was bolted shut. Nathan stepped inside. The floor was dusty, not heavily, enough. And in the dust, near the crates, were footprints. Fresh, a man's shoes, not Daniel's. Nathan crouched. The prints led from the exterior door to the crates, then back again. Can this exterior door open while the train is moving? Nathan asked. Technically, yes, but it's dangerous. It opens onto the rear platform between cars. Was it locked? It should have been. Nathan checked the latch. There were scratches near it. Recent. Someone had opened it. He moved toward the crates. One had been disturbed. The dust on top was smeared. Behind it, Tucked into a shadowed corner, he found a folded dark coat, expensive wool, damp with snow. Daniel whispered, "That wasn't there before." Nathan lifted it carefully. Inside the inner pocket was a ticket stub, not for a passenger cabin, a temporary staff access pass, issued under the name Charles Vane. Nathan almost smiled. "Not very creative, Mr. Vale." "What?" "An alias." He searched the coat again. In another pocket, he found a small notebook. Most pages were blank. The last page had times written in a neat hand. 11:47 arrival, 11:50 departure, 12 dinner, 1:30 brandy service, 2:10 mountain signal dead zone, 2:13 forced halt possible. Beneath the times were initials: AB, RH, NDR, LC, MV, DB, and one more. And Nathan stared at his own initials. Daniel saw his expression. "What is it?" Nathan closed the notebook. "He knew I would be here." Daniel looked terrified. "Why would he care about you?" Nathan did not answer, because the answer was forming too quickly. Someone had not only gathered Blackwell's victims, someone had placed Nathan Cole on the train too. A retired detective, a man known for finding truth, a man who could either expose the murder or bury it with credibility. Nathan stood. From somewhere behind the walls came a faint sound, a scrape. Daniel froze. Nathan raised one finger to his lips. Another sound. Metal against metal. Not from the compartment, from beyond it. The rear platform. Nathan moved toward the exterior door. The latch was not fully engaged. He opened it slowly. Cold wind struck his face. Beyond the door was a narrow rear platform between cars, slick with snow and bordered by iron railings. The next car behind them was supposed to be closed. Its door was slightly open. A thin line of darkness waited beyond. Daniel whispered, "That car is empty." Nathan stepped onto the platform. The mountains surrounded them in the pre-dawn dark. Snow lay thick on the tracks and cliffs. Far ahead, work lamps glowed faintly where the crew cleared the blockage. Behind him, Daniel remained in the doorway. Nathan crossed to the rear car and pushed the door open. It creaked. Inside was darkness, cold seats, covered furniture, and the smell of unused space. Nathan raised the lantern. Rows of empty dining tables had been wrapped in white cloth, making the car look filled with ghosts. Then a voice spoke from the darkness. "You always did walk into rooms like you expected the dead to explain themselves." Nathan stopped. Daniel gasped behind him. At the far end of the empty car, a man sat at a covered table. Gray beard, expensive coat, gloved hands folded calmly in front of him. Caleb Vale. He smiled as if he had been waiting all night. "Nathan Cole," he said, "right on time." Nathan did not move closer. Caleb Vale. Vale tilted his head. "Evelyn remembered me. I wondered if she would." Daniel's voice shook behind Nathan. "What are you doing here?" Vale glanced past Nathan. "Mr. Brooks, your brother had courage. Poor judgment, but courage." Daniel lunged forward. Nathan stopped him with one arm. "No." Vale smiled wider. "Good. Still controlling rooms. I admired that about you, Detective. Nathan held the lantern steady. You sent the letters. Yes. You gathered them. Yes. You knew Blackwell would be stabbed. Vale leaned back. I knew grief would do what grief does when locked in a room with its creator. Why? Because Victor became careless. Nathan said nothing. Vale continued. Powerful men always do. For years, Victor understood discretion. He knew what to sign, what not to sign, whom to pay, whom to frighten. Then age made him sentimental. He started keeping records, names, dates, notes, trophies disguised as insurance. The folder, yes, that folder could destroy more than Victor. It could destroy judges, donors, police captains, men with houses on lakes and daughters in private schools, men who prefer their sins invisible. And you? Vale's smile thinned. I prefer survival. So you brought his victims to kill him. I brought consequences to his door. No, Nathan said. You brought weapons and called them people. Something flickered in Vale's eyes. Careful, detective. You stand tonight because I invited you. Nathan's grip on the lantern tightened slightly. How? Your old friend in Seattle. The invitation. The timing. A suggestion passed through the right mouth. You were easier to move than I expected. Retirement made you lonely. Daniel looked at Nathan. Nathan did not take his eyes off Vale. You wanted me here to solve it. I wanted you here to make it believable. There's a difference. Not to the public, not to the courts, not to history. Vale stood slowly. If Blackwell died alone, questions would point toward business, toward partners, toward people like me. If his body was found surrounded by grieving families with motive, then the story becomes emotional, personal, sad, understandable. The network remains hidden, Nathan said, except I found the folder. Vale nodded. Yes, that was unfortunate. You expected Blackwell to keep it in the suite. I expected him to keep it close. He always did. But I expected to retrieve it before anyone else understood its value. After the murder. Yes. During the confusion. Yes. Then why are you still here? Vale's smile returned. Because you locked the room too quickly. Nathan heard Daniel breathing behind him. Vale looked toward the windows. The track will clear soon. Police will board. Reporters will gather. 6 wounded people will fall apart under questioning. You will tell the truth because that is what Nathan Cole does. He turned back. And then the folder becomes evidence. Evidence enters systems. Systems leak. Powerful men prepare. By the time anyone understands the network, it disappears. What do you want? The folder. No. Vale Seahead. I expected that. From his coat, he removed a small pistol. Daniel stepped back. Nathan remained still. Vale pointed the gun calmly, not wildly. He had done this before. Give me the folder. Detective. Nathan looked at the pistol, then at Vale. You planned the murder. You manipulated victims. You intended to destroy evidence. And now you want me to trust you with the only thing that can expose Blackwell's network. Vale's face hardened. I want you to understand scale. That folder in the wrong hands will not save the missing. It will cause panic. Men will run. Evidence will burn. Witnesses will die. Give it to me and I can manage the damage. You mean protect the guilty. I mean protect order. Nathan's voice lowered. Order is what criminals call peace when victims stop screaming. Vale stared at him. For the first time, his smile vanished completely. Behind Nathan, from the first-class carriage, came a faint knocking sound, then another. The dining car door. Someone had heard voices. Vale's eyes shifted for half a second. That was enough. Nathan threw the lantern. The glass shattered near Vale's feet. Flame and oil spilled across the covered tablecloth. Vale fired. The shot exploded through the empty car. Daniel cried out and dropped. Nathan rushed forward as Vale stumbled back from the sudden fire. The pistol swung toward Nathan again, but Nathan struck his wrist hard. The second shot went into the ceiling. They collided against a covered table. Dust burst into the air. Vale was stronger than he looked. He drove an elbow into Nathan's ribs and shoved him back. The pistol clattered under a seat. Fire crawled across the white table covering. Daniel groaned near the door. Nathan grabbed Vale's coat. Vale struck him across the face. Nathan tasted blood. For a moment, the two men stood locked together in the flickering orange light. One retired detective and one professional shadow, both old enough to know exactly what kind of world they were fighting over. Vale hissed, "You still think truth fixes things?" Nathan drove his knee into Vale's stomach. Vale doubled over. "No," Nathan said, "but lies built this train." He pulled Vale down and slammed him against the floor. Footsteps pounded behind them. The rear door burst open. Colonel Hayes entered first, followed by Noah, Lily, Evelyn, and Margaret. The dining car lock had not held against panic and a gunshot. Noah saw Vale and froze. Evelyn whispered, "Caleb." Vale, bleeding from the mouth, looked up at her. "Mrs. Blackwell, you should have stayed obedient." Something changed in Evelyn's face. Not fear this time. Never again. Colonel Hayes kicked the pistol farther away. Noah grabbed a blanket and began smothering the fire. Lily helped him, coughing through the smoke. Daniel pushed himself up against the wall, his left shoulder bleeding where the bullet had grazed him. Nathan held Vale down. "Hand me something," Nathan said. Hayes removed his belt and passed it over. Together, they tied Caleb Vale's hands behind his back. Vale laughed weakly against the floor. "You think this changes anything? You think one folder and one dead man end a machine this large?" Nathan leaned close. "No, but machines are built by men. Men bleed. Men talk. Men make mistakes." Vale turned his head enough to see all of them. "Look at you, murderers, pretending you are witnesses." The words struck the group hard. Noah stepped toward him, but Lily caught his arm. Vale smiled through blood. "That is the problem, isn't it, detective? You found a villain worse than the victim, but the victim is still dead by their hands. What will you do now?" Nobody spoke. The fire died under the blanket. Smoke drifted through the empty car. In the distance, the train whistle sounded once, long and low. The track was clear. The Silver Meridian was ready to move again. Nathan stood over Caleb Vale, breathing hard, blood at the corner of his mouth, the leather folder heavy inside his coat. Behind him stood 6 people who had killed Victor Blackwell. At his feet lay the man who had arranged the room, written the letters, and tried to turn grief into a weapon he could control. Ahead waited the police, the law, the report, the questions, the truth, or whatever part of it Nathan Cole chose to carry into morning. For several seconds, no one moved. The Silver Meridian sat silent in the mountain pass, but the silence no longer felt empty. It was full now, full of smoke, full of blood, full of names, full of everything that had been hidden for years and had finally forced itself into one narrow train car before dawn. Caleb Vale lay on the floor with Colonel Hayes's belt tied around his wrists. Blood marked the corner of his mouth. His expensive coat was torn at the shoulder. Even now, even tied and beaten, he did not look defeated. Men like Vale rarely looked defeated. They looked inconvenienced. Nathan stood above him, one hand pressed lightly against his ribs where Vale had struck him. His mouth tasted of blood. His lungs carried smoke. The leather folder inside his coat seemed heavier than before, as if every name in it had gained weight. Daniel Brooks leaned against the wall near the door, holding his left shoulder. The bullet had grazed him, tearing cloth and skin, but missing bone. His face was pale, but he was alive. Noah Reed and Lily Carter stood near the burned table, breathing hard after smothering the fire. The white cloth had gone black in patches. Smoke curled upward in thin gray lines. Evelyn Blackwell stood closest to Vale. Her face was no longer pale with fear. It was pale with recognition. Margaret Whitmore held her cross against her chest and whispered a prayer that did not sound like forgiveness. Colonel Hayes looked at Caleb Vale the way soldiers look at threats that are not yet finished. The train whistle sounded again. Long, low, finale. Daniel lifted his head. "The track is clear," he said quietly. No one answered. From the front of the train came the distant clanking of metal. Crewmen shouted to one another. Steam hissed beneath the cars. Slowly, after hours trapped in the snow, the Silver Meridian prepared to move again. Nathan looked toward the windows. The night outside had begun to weaken. Not morning yet, but close. A dark blue light touched the snow, giving the mountains shape again. The world was returning. That was the trouble with dawn. It never cared what had happened in the dark. Caleb Vale turned his head slightly and looked up at Nathan. "You have very little time now." Nathan said nothing. Vale smiled. "It's almost beautiful, isn't it? All these years, Victor Blackwell buys judges, police, politicians, shipping officials, border inspectors, and God knows who else. He survives everything. Then, one night, he dies on a train surrounded by broken people with knives in their hands. His eyes moved from face to face. And now, you have to decide whether they are victims or murderers." Noah stepped forward. "Shut up." Vale looked amused. "Young man, if silence could save your sister, she would have come home years ago." Noah moved so fast, Lily barely caught his sleeve. "Don't," she whispered. Noah's jaw trembled. Vale smiled wider. "That is what I counted on. Rage is predictable. Grief is predictable. People like you tell yourselves your pain is unique because it feels endless. But from a distance, it behaves exactly like everyone else's." Nathan crouched beside Vale. And what did you count on from me? Vale's eyes returned to him. Reputation. For what? Truth. Nathan waited. Vale continued. You were supposed to find enough to make the story believable. Not all of it, just enough. Blackwell, dead. Passengers, guilty. A tragedy born from revenge. A famous detective present to confirm the conclusion. The public loves moral confusion when it comes wrapped in luxury. You expected me to hand the world 6 killers and stop there. Yes. And the folder? Vale's smile thinned. I intended to retrieve it before you understood what it was. You failed. For now. Colonel Hayes stepped closer. There won't be a later. Vale looked up at him calmly. Colonel, if you believe one arrest ends this, you have learned nothing from your daughter's death. Hayes went still. Vale's voice softened in the most poisonous way. Emily was clever, too clever. But she made the mistake all decent people make. She believed proof was enough. Proof is never enough. Proof must reach someone willing to act, and everyone willing to act can be frightened, bought, discredited, or buried. Nathan stood. That is why the folder cannot enter the system through ordinary hands. Vale laughed once. You still think you know clean hands? Nathan looked toward Daniel. Can the train reach Seattle without stopping? Daniel nodded slowly. Yes. Once we leave the pass, it's a straight descent. 2 hours, maybe less. Communication? The radio may start working once we clear the ridge. Then no one uses it yet. Daniel stared at him. Mr. Cole? Nathan looked at the group. If Vale's people learn he failed before we reach the city, they will move. Evidence will burn. Witnesses will vanish. Accounts will empty. The folder buys us time only if they believe the night is still hidden. Evelyn's voice was quiet. Victor always had check-in calls. Nathan turned to her. When? Every morning, usually at 7. His assistant, maybe security, sometimes Caleb. Vale's expression changed slightly. It was small, but Nathan saw it. When exactly? Nathan asked. 7 o'clock. Victor hated people who called late. Nathan checked his watch. Number 4:40 a.m. A little over an hour. Vale smiled again, but now there was tension beneath it. You cannot impersonate him. No, Nathan said, but Evelyn can delay them. Evelyn looked at him. Nathan continued. You knew his habits, his phrases, his temper. If someone calls, you answer briefly. Say he is sleeping. Say the storm delayed the train. Say he will call when he wakes. Evelyn swallowed. And if they ask for him? You say he threw the phone across the room because they woke him. For the first time that night, Noah almost smiled. That sounds like him? Evelyn looked down. Yes. Nathan turned to Daniel. Does the train have a secure office line? In the conductor's compartment. But if someone calls Victor directly, his phone, Evelyn's face tightened. He kept it in his inner coat pocket. Nathan looked toward the first-class carriage. Then we need it. Vale spoke from the floor. You are improvising against people who have planned for decades. Nathan looked back at him. You planned for grief. You forgot conscience. Vale laughed. No, detective. I counted on conscience. It makes people hesitate. Nathan's eyes hardened. Not always. Colonel Hayes lifted Vale from the floor with Noah's help. They moved him toward the front of the empty car, away from the burned cloth and broken lantern. Daniel found rope in the service compartment and replaced the belt around Vale's wrists with tighter knots. Margaret watched the entire process in silence, her lips moving around names only she could hear. Once Vale was secured, Nathan led Evelyn and Daniel back toward Victor Blackwell's suite. The corridor seemed different now. Earlier, it had been a tunnel of suspicion. Now it felt like the inside of a wound. They passed cabin 5, then cabin 4, then cabin 3. Each door stood slightly open, the passengers having left in panic after the gunshot. The elegant lamps still glowed softly. The red carpet hid what it could. Beyond the windows, snow-covered cliffs moved slowly into view as dawn gathered strength. The train jolted gently, then began to move. The Silver Meridian pulled forward through the cleared pass. Nathan paused as the wheels resumed their rhythm beneath his feet. The journey had restarted. The dead were traveling again. At Victor's suite, Nathan unlocked the door. Evelyn stopped outside. "I don't want to go in." Nathan looked at her. "You don't have to." She stared at the door. For years, Victor Blackwell's rooms had been places where her voice became small. Even now, with him dead, the threshold held power over her. Nathan said softly, "Stay here." Evelyn shook her head. "No." She stepped inside. Victor still lay on the floor beside the bed. No one had covered him. His eyes remained open. The dawn light coming through the window made his face look less powerful, less human, almost waxen. His gold watch ticked uselessly on his wrist. Evelyn looked at him for a long moment. Then she said, "He looks smaller." Nathan said nothing. She stepped closer. "I used to think if he died, the room would change, like the walls would open, like I'd be able to breathe." "And?" She looked around. "It still smells like him." Nathan removed Victor's phone from the inside pocket of his suit jacket using a handkerchief. It was locked. Evelyn looked at it. "I know the code." Nathan handed it to her. Her fingers trembled, but she entered the numbers. The screen lit up. There were missed notifications, messages, calendar reminders, a call scheduled for 7 a.m. with the contact name C.V. Caleb Vale. Nathan looked at Evelyn. Would Victor answer video or audio? Audio. He hated being seen before he was ready. Good. Daniel stood at the doorway, trying not to look at the body. Nathan searched Victor's pockets again and found a second key ring, a money clip, and a small black device. Evelyn inhaled sharply. "What is it?" Nathan turned it over. "A recorder." Daniel frowned. Why would he carry that? Evelyn's voice was bitter. Victor recorded people, deals, threats, confessions. He said memory was unreliable unless you owned it. Nathan pressed the device. A list of audio files appeared. Some dated weeks ago, some months. One file had been recorded the night before. 11, 58 PM. Nathan played the first few seconds. Victor's voice filled the suite. "Vale, I told you I don't need additional men on the train. They're sentimental civilians. They'll come, they'll beg, they'll threaten, and then they'll learn who still owns the story." Then Caleb Vale's voice, faint but clear. You underestimate people with nothing left. Victor laughed. That's why I invited Cole. Let the old bloodhound watch them. If anything happens, he'll hand them over cleanly. Nathan stopped the recording. Evelyn stared at the device. He knew you were coming. Nathan nodded. Yes. Daniel whispered. Victor and Vale both wanted you here? Yes, but not for the same reason. Nathan played the recording again, longer this time. Vale's voice continued. You're creating unnecessary risk. Victor said, risk? These people have chased ghosts for years. I'm giving them 10 minutes of truth. Then I'm giving them fear. By the time we reach Seattle, every loose end signs silence or disappears. Vale said, and your wife? Victor replied, Evelyn will behave. She always does when properly reminded. Evelyn closed her eyes. The recording clicked softly as Victor moved. Then Victor said one final sentence. If any of them try something, Cole will make sure the law punishes grief instead of me. Nathan stopped the recorder. The room became very quiet. Daniel looked at Nathan. That proves Victor planned to threaten them. It proves more than that, Nathan said. He pocketed the recorder. It proves he invited danger and intended to use me as the witness. Evelyn looked at Victor's body. He thought everyone belonged to him. Nathan looked at the dead man. Most monsters die surprised. At 6:50 a.m., they gathered in the dining car. The train was moving steadily now, descending from the mountains toward the city. Outside, dawn spread across the snowfields. The sky had turned silver. Pines flashed past the windows. Far below, valleys opened beneath the tracks. Inside, the passengers sat around the tables as if waiting for sentence. Caleb Vale had been tied in the rear service compartment, guarded by Colonel Hayes and Noah in turns. The pistol had been emptied and placed in Nathan's suitcase. Daniel's shoulder had been bandaged with clean cloth from the medical kit. Evelyn held Victor's phone in both hands. No one spoke much. There was no need. At 6:59, the phone rang, and everyone looked at Evelyn. The name on the screen was CV. Even tied 2 cars away, Vale seemed to enter the room through those 2 letters. Evelyn's face tightened. Nathan stood beside her. Keep it short. She nodded. The phone rang again, and again. She answered. Her voice changed completely. Cold, irritated, controlled. What? A pause. The voice on the other end was faint, but the room was silent enough for Nathan to hear Vale's name spoken by someone else. Mr. Blackwell? Evelyn looked at Nathan. He nodded slightly. She snapped. Do you think I would answer his phone if he were awake? Another pause. He's sleeping. The train was delayed by snow. He's furious. But if you enjoy being employed, don't call again until he calls you. The caller said something. Evelyn's voice sharpened. No, he said no calls, no messages. No one meets us at the platform until he confirms. Do you understand? A longer silence. Then she said, good. She ended the call. For a moment, she simply stared at the phone. Then she placed it on the table as if it were a dead insect. Noah exhaled. Damn. Evelyn looked down at her hands. They had been washed now, but she still seemed to see blood there. I sounded like him. Nathan said, no, you sounded like someone who survived him. The train continued. At 7:20, the radio in the conductor's compartment came back to life. Daniel received messages from operations. Seattle police had been notified only that the train had been delayed by snow and that there had been a medical emergency on board. No details had gone out yet. No public report, no names. Nathan used the conductor's line to make one call. Not to the local police, not to reporters, not to anyone Victor Blackwell might have owned. He called Assistant U.S. Attorney Rebecca Marsh. 15 years earlier, Rebecca had been a young prosecutor on one of Nathan's cases. She had been relentless then. She was more powerful now, more careful, harder to frighten. When she answered, her voice was rough with sleep. "Nathan, I need you awake. I am now. I'm on the Silver Meridian. Victor Blackwell is dead." Silence. Then Rebecca said, "Tell me, that was a metaphor." "No." "How?" "Murder. Multiple hands. Complicated." "Jesus, Nathan, that's not why I called." "Of course it isn't. I have evidence connecting Blackwell and others to trafficking, witness intimidation, bribery, multiple disappearances, and possibly murders across several states. I also have Caleb Vale alive and restrained." This time the silence lasted longer. When Rebecca spoke again, her voice had changed. Professional now. Sharp. "Caleb Vale is on the train?" "Yes. Do not hand him to local police until federal agents I trust are present." That was my thought. Who knows? People on board. No public call yet. Good. Keep it that way. When do you arrive? About an hour. I'll meet you with agents. Nathan, listen to me carefully. Blackwell had friends everywhere. Do not let anyone separate you from the evidence. Do not let anyone take Vale alone. Do not give a statement until I am there. Nathan looked through the glass door toward the dining car, where 6 people waited in silence. There is another problem. Of course there is. The people who killed Blackwell are also his victims' families. Rebecca said nothing. Nathan continued. He gathered them. Vale manipulated them. Blackwell planned to threaten or eliminate them, but they did stab him. How many? 6. Rebecca exhaled. That is not a problem. That is a cathedral fire. I know. What are you asking me? Nathan looked down the corridor toward Victor's locked suite. I'm asking how much truth justice can survive. Rebecca's voice softened. Nathan, I need room. You're asking me to look away. No, I'm asking you to look carefully. Another silence. Then Rebecca said, get the train to Seattle. Keep everyone alive. We'll decide what can be proven, what must be charged, and what serves the greater case after I see the evidence. That sounds almost like mercy. No, it's strategy. Mercy is above my pay grade. Nathan almost smiled. See you in an hour. He ended the call. When Nathan returned to the dining car, everyone looked at him. He stood at the head of the table. Federal agents will meet the train in Seattle, not just local police. The folder and recorder will go directly to people Victor Blackwell did not own. Margaret closed her eyes. Thank God. Noah said, and us? Nathan looked at him. That depends. Noah gave a humorless laugh. On what? Whether we're sorry? No. On what can be proven. on what story the physical evidence tells after Vale's role is known, on whether prosecutors decide Blackwell's murder is the center of this case or the doorway into something larger. Colonel Hayes understood first. You are not promising freedom. No. Good, Hayes said. Promises are cheap. Evelyn looked at Nathan. Will we go to prison? Nathan did not answer quickly. Yes, he said finally. Maybe. Some of you. All of you. None of you. I don't know. Lily lowered her head. Noah reached for her hand beneath the table. Nathan continued. What I do know is this. Vale sent the letters. Victor knew the names. Victor planned to use this trip to threaten you, control you, possibly erase you. Daniel stabbed first after being provoked by a man who helped kill his brother. The rest of you entered a room where Blackwell was already wounded, armed at times, threatening at times, and dying before the final wounds were made. He paused. That is the truth. Not clean, not simple, not innocent, but truth rarely arrives washed. Margaret whispered, and what will you say? Nathan looked at the morning outside. I will say what I saw. I will say what I found. I will say Caleb Vale designed the conditions for the murder and attempted to destroy evidence afterward. I will say Victor Blackwell invited his victims' families into a trap. I will say each of you carried grief into that room and came out changed. Noah stared at him. That still makes us killers. Nathan looked back. Yes. The word landed heavily, but not cruelly. It also makes you witnesses, survivors, evidence of a system that failed so completely that revenge became easier to reach than justice. Lily's voice was small. That doesn't make it right. No, Nathan said. It doesn't. She nodded. For some reason, that answer seemed to help more than comfort would have. At 8:42 a.m., Seattle appeared through the windows. First came the outskirts, snow-covered rooftops, gray streets, warehouses near the rail yards, smoke rising from chimneys. Then the city itself, waking under a pale winter sky. The passengers grew quieter as the station approached. In the rear service compartment, Caleb Vale sat bound and silent. His confidence had not vanished, but it had narrowed. He knew now that the morning was not unfolding as he had designed it. Nathan stood before him one last time before arrival. Vale looked up. Have you decided what kind of man you are today? Nathan said, no. Vale smiled faintly. Honest answer. Nathan crouched. You were right about one thing. Only one? One folder won't end the machine. Vale's eyes sharpened. But it will make noise, Nathan said. And machines that depend on silence don't enjoy noise. Vale leaned closer. You think Rebecca Marsh is untouchable? Nathan did not react. Vale smiled. There it is. You know the name. You called her. Good. She is cleaner than most. That only means the people around her will fall first. Nathan stood. Then we start with them too. Vale shook his head, almost admiring, still chasing the horizon. No, Nathan said, just walking toward it. He left Vale there. The train slowed as it entered Seattle Union Station. Reporters were already gathering beyond the police line, though they did not yet know what story they were waiting for. Local officers stood near the platform. 2 ambulances waited farther down. A black federal SUV pulled in beside the station entrance. The Silver Meridian stopped at exactly 8:57 a.m. For a moment, no one got off. The doors remained closed. Inside the dining car, the 6 passengers stood together, not close, not united exactly, but no longer strangers. Evelyn wore Victor's coat over her shoulders, not because she wanted it, but because she was cold and had decided dead men did not own fabric. Her passport was in her pocket. Colonel Hayes held Emily's photograph. Noah kept one hand near Lily, not touching her now, but present. Lily held her sketchbook. Margaret Whitmore held the Silver Cross and a small folded paper with Thomas's name written on it. Daniel Brooks stood in his conductor's uniform, shoulder bandaged, cap in hand. Nathan looked at them. When the doors open, say nothing until counsel is present. Do not lie. Do not volunteer. Do not let anyone separate you without asking where you are being taken. Colonel Hayes said, "You sound like a lawyer." "I've arrested enough people to know what I hated watching." Margaret smiled faintly. "Will you walk with us?" Nathan looked toward the platform. "Yes." Daniel opened the carriage door. Cold morning air entered. So did the world. Nathan stepped down first. Camera flashes began immediately. Reporters shouted, "Detective Cole, is Victor Blackwell dead? Was there a murder? Who was arrested?" "Nathan, are you working with police?" He ignored them. Rebecca Marsh stood near the platform gate in a dark coat, flanked by 4 federal agents. Her hair was pulled back. Her face was calm, but her eyes moved quickly, taking in Nathan's bruised mouth, Daniel's bandage, Evelyn's expression, and the closed rear carriage. She approached. "Nathan, Rebecca, you look terrible." "I'm retired." That explains it. He handed her the leather folder first. Her expression changed as soon as she opened it. Then he handed her the recorder. "This matters too." She looked at him. "Where is Vale?" "Rear service compartment. Bound. Armed earlier. Gun secured in my suitcase." Rebecca signaled 2 agents. "Bring him out carefully. Body cameras on. No one speaks to him without me present." The agents moved. Local police approached, led by a captain in a heavy coat. "I'm Captain Morris. Who's in charge here?" Rebecca did not look up from the folder. "For the moment, I am." Captain Morris frowned. "This is our station, and a federal trafficking investigation just arrived on rails. You'll be briefed when appropriate." The captain looked annoyed, then saw the name on her credentials and reconsidered. Nathan watched silently. Caleb Vale was brought out moments later, between 2 agents. His hands were secured. His face was bruised. Cameras flashed wildly as reporters recognized something important had happened, even if they did not yet know what. Vale looked at Nathan as he passed. "See you again, detective." Nathan said, "Not if I see you first." Vale smiled. Then he was placed into the federal vehicle. Victor Blackwell's body came next. Covered now, carried on a stretcher. The cameras became frantic. Evelyn did not look away. She watched the covered shape of her husband pass down the platform, and when it was gone, she exhaled like someone who had been holding her breath for years. Rebecca approached Nathan. "I need preliminary statements. You'll get them. From everyone." "Yes." Her eyes studied him. "And the murder?" Nathan looked at the 6 passengers standing behind him, then at Victor's covered body being loaded away, then at the folder in Rebecca's hands. "The murder is part of the story," he said. "Not all of it." Rebecca's face remained unreadable. That is a dangerous sentence. It was a dangerous train. She looked past him at Evelyn, Hayes, Noah, Lily, Margaret, and Daniel. They all participated? Nathan did not answer immediately. Then he said, "They all entered the room. Blackwell was wounded by the time most of them arrived. Vale engineered the encounter. Blackwell intended coercion, possibly harm. The physical sequence will matter." Rebecca understood what he was saying and what he was not saying. "We'll let forensic evidence speak." Nathan nodded. Carefully, Rebecca closed the folder. "I don't bury murders, Nathan. I'm not asking you to." "What are you asking?" He looked toward the reporters. "I'm asking you not to let one dead criminal become more important than all the living victims he left behind." Rebecca held his gaze for a long moment. Then she said, "That I can do." The 6 passengers were escorted away, not in handcuffs, but not freely either. Statements, lawyers, doctors, federal interviews. The machinery of justice finally beginning to move, slow and imperfect and late. As Evelyn passed Nathan, she stopped. "Mr. Cole." He turned. "Did we survive?" Nathan looked at her, at the bruise on her wrist, at the passport in her pocket, at the woman who had sounded like Victor and then chosen not to become him. "Not yet," he said, "but you started." She nodded. Then she walked on. Colonel Hayes paused next. He held out Emily's photograph. Nathan looked at it but did not take it. "She was real," Hayes said. "I know." "No," Hayes replied. "You know now. That matters." Nathan nodded. Hayes followed the agents. Noah and Lily passed together. Lily stopped and opened her sketchbook. She tore out one page and handed it to Nathan. It was the drawing she had begun on the train. A girl standing in sunlight. Anna. But behind her were others now. Grace, Emily, Thomas, Michael. Faces Nathan recognized from the folder, from stories, from grief. "She shouldn't stay hidden in evidence," Lily said. Nathan took the page carefully. "No, she shouldn't." Noah looked at Nathan. "Do you think Grace is alive?" There it was. The question that had kept him alive and tortured him at the same time. Nathan could have lied kindly. He did not. "I don't know." Noah nodded, as if he had expected nothing else. "But now," Nathan said, "people will look in places they avoided before." Noah's face tightened. That was not hope. Not yet. But it was not nothing. Margaret came last. She looked very small on the wide platform. She reached for Nathan's hand. He gave it. Her fingers were cold. "When you speak for this night," she said, "please say Thomas loved trains." Nathan swallowed. "I will. And vanilla ice cream." "I thought vanilla was for people who had given up on joy." Margaret smiled through tears. "He said that, did he?" "You told me." "I suppose I did." She squeezed his hand once and walked away. Daniel Brooks remained near the carriage door after the others had gone. 2 agents waited for him, but he turned back to the train first. He looked at the Silver Meridian as if seeing it for the first time. "I used to think trains were honest," Daniel said. Nathan stood beside him. "How so?" "They go where the tracks take them, no pretending." Nathan looked at the rails beneath them. "Tracks are built by people." Daniel nodded slowly. "I guess that explains it." Then he turned and followed the agents. By noon, the first headlines appeared. "Billionaire Victor Blackwell found dead on luxury train." By evening, the headlines changed. "Federal investigation opens into Blackwell logistics." By the next morning, they changed again. "Warehouses raided in 3 states. Records seized. Human trafficking probe expands. Caleb Vale refuse command." Reporters wanted a simple story. They did not get one. At first, the public saw Victor Blackwell as a murdered businessman. Then the names began surfacing. Emily Hayes, Grace Reed, Anna Carter, Thomas Whitmore, Michael Brooks, and many others. Families came forward, some shaking with rage, some holding photographs, some saying they had waited years for someone to believe them. The case grew larger than one train, larger than one dead man, larger than even Caleb Vale. Judges resigned. 2 police officials were suspended. A state senator denied everything, then vanished from public view. Warehouses were searched. Hidden rooms were found. Bank accounts froze. Men who had once stood smiling beside Victor Blackwell at charity dinners began speaking through attorneys. For the first time in years, silence lost money. And because silence lost money, it began losing power. As for the 6 passengers, their cases moved carefully. Not cleanly, never cleanly. Daniel Brooks was charged first because his confession was direct and his wound was earliest. But the charge was reduced after evidence showed Blackwell's provocation, the recorded threats, and Vale's manipulation. He would serve time, but not life. Colonel Hayes admitted striking and stabbing Blackwell, yet his lawyers argued diminished capacity under extreme emotional trauma and provocation connected to evidence of his daughter's murder. The court did not call him innocent. It also did not call him a monster. Noah Reed faced charges too. He did not run from them. When asked why, he said only, "I spent too long chasing shadows. I'm tired." Lily Carter's role became harder to prove. Her blade was never recovered. Her statement was careful, truthful where it needed to be, silent where silence was allowed. She spent months testifying in the trafficking investigation instead. Margaret Whitmore was not imprisoned, whether because of her age, the uncertain timing of her wounds, or the fact that no jury wished to place a grandmother in prison for stabbing a dying trafficker who had taken her grandson. The law found softer language for her. Evelyn Blackwell became one of the most important witnesses in the federal case. She testified behind closed doors for weeks. She handed over financial records, passwords, names, recordings, calendar notes, and memories Victor had assumed fear would keep sealed forever. She was not charged with murder, not because she had done nothing, because the state could not prove that her wound had killed him, because Victor had already been dying, because Caleb Vale had designed the trap, because sometimes justice moves not like a sword, but like water finding cracks. Nathan Cole did not return to retirement immediately. He told himself he would. After the statements, after Rebecca no longer needed him, after one more file, after one more family was notified, after one more warehouse was searched, weeks became months. The Silver Meridian was taken out of service during the investigation. For a while, it sat behind a locked fence in the rail yard, snow gathering on its roof, its windows dark. People came to photograph it. Some called it the murder train. Some called it the justice train. Nathan called it what it was. A room where truth arrived late and found everyone already bleeding. One evening, nearly 6 months after the murder, Nathan visited the rail yard alone. The sun was setting behind the city. The train sat quiet on an unused track, its silver letters dulled by weather. Someone had removed the blood-stained carpet from Victor's suite. The broken glass had been replaced. The burned cloth in the rear car was gone, cleaned, repaired, prepared to be forgotten. Nathan stood beside the carriage and looked at his reflection in the dark window. Older, still tired, but different in a way he had not expected. Behind him, footsteps approached. He turned. Rebecca Marsh stood with 2 coffees. You always visit crime scenes after they stop being useful? Nathan took one. They're more honest then. Rebecca leaned against the rail fence. Vale is talking. Nathan looked at her. That was faster than expected. He thinks he can trade names for survival. He probably can. Some survival, Rebecca said. Not peace. Nathan nodded. And the network? Bigger than the folder. Smaller than Vale wanted us to believe. Evil likes to exaggerate itself when cornered. Nathan almost smiled. Any sign of Grace Reed? Rebecca's expression softened. Not yet. Anna Carter? No. Thomas? No. Nathan looked down. But we found others, Rebecca said. He looked at her. Alive? Some. That word entered the evening quietly. Some. Not enough. Never enough. But some. Nathan looked back at the train. I'll tell Noah. I already did. How did he take it? Like a man afraid to hope in public. Nathan nodded. Rebecca sipped her coffee. You did something dangerous on that train. Several things. I mean, with the truth. Nathan said nothing. She continued. You bent it. No, you arranged it. He looked at her. I carried all of it. I just didn't hand every piece to the loudest room first. Rebecca studied him. That sounds like something a man tells himself when he wants to sleep. Does it work? No. Nathan looked back at the window. No. They stood in silence. After a while, Rebecca said, Lily is drawing portraits for the families. Nathan looked at her. Of the missing and the found. She says, evidence photos make people look stolen twice. Nathan nodded slowly. Good. Evelyn moved to Portland. New name legally restored. Parker. Good. Margaret started a foundation in Thomas's name. Small. Mostly train sets for shelters and legal funds for families. Nathan smiled faintly. That sounds like her. Hayes writes letters every week. To Emily. His lawyer says it helps. Does it? Rebecca shrugged. Help is a modest word. Nathan looked at the train again. And Daniel? Serving time. Also testifying. He asked me to tell you he remembers Michael as the reason he told the truth. Nathan closed his eyes briefly. Good. Rebecca turned to leave, then stopped. Nathan, yes? You coming back? To what? The work. He looked at the train window, at the reflected shape of a man who had tried to escape truth and found it waiting at 11:47 p.m. on a snowy platform. I don't know. Rebecca nodded. That's closer to yes than no. She walked away. Nathan remained until the sun disappeared. The city lights came on behind him. The train darkened before him. And for a moment, he imagined the passengers as they had been that night. Evelyn, with her bruised wrist. Hayes, with his hidden photograph. Noah, watching exits. Lily, drawing a monster's face. Margaret, praying for a boy who loved trains. Daniel, carrying brandy toward a man he hated. Victor Blackwell, smiling because he believed fear was permanent. Caleb Vale, waiting in the dark, certain he had turned human grief into machinery. And himself, Nathan Cole, retired detective, tired man, witness. He thought about what Vale had said. You still think truth fixes things. No, truth did not fix everything. Truth did not bring back Emily Hayes from the ravine. It did not bring Grace Reed home. It did not place Anna Carter back at the apartment window. It did not return Thomas Whitmore with vanilla ice cream in his hand. It did not put Michael Brooks at his mother's table. It did not give Evelyn back the years Victor had stolen. Truth did not reverse the train, but lies had been the track, and that mattered. Nathan placed Lily's drawing against the inside of the carriage window, the one she had given him on the platform, the girl in sunlight, the others behind her. The faces once hidden in records, now looking outward. He stood back. For the first time, the Silver Meridian looked less like a coffin, less like a secret, more like a witness. Months later, the federal trial began. It did not have the glamour reporters expected. No dramatic confession solved everything. No single villain explained every crime. Instead, there were spreadsheets, shipping records, bank transfers, testimony from exhausted survivors, coded messages, warehouse blueprints, border reports, and names. So many names. The courtroom filled every day. Families sat in rows holding photographs. Some photos were old and faded. Some were school pictures. Some were printed from phones. Some showed people who had been found. Some showed people who had not. When Caleb Vale took the stand as part of a limited cooperation agreement, he entered wearing a gray suit and the same calm expression he had worn in the rear car. But calm looked different in daylight, smaller. Under questioning, he named companies, officials, accounts, routes, and men who had smiled at charity galas, while children were moved through warehouses bearing their names. He tried to minimize. Rebecca Marsh did not let him. He tried to say Victor Blackwell had controlled everything. The records disagreed. He tried to say he had only followed orders. Nathan, sitting in the back row, watched the jury look at him and understand that some people follow orders because they enjoy where the orders lead. Evelyn testified for 3 days. On the first day, her voice shook. On the second, it steadied. On the third, when a defense attorney asked why she had not left Victor sooner, she looked at him for a long moment and said, "Because men like you ask that question after men like him make sure there is nowhere to go." No one in the courtroom moved. Lily's drawings were not entered as evidence, but they appeared outside the courthouse. Families stood holding them. Portraits of the missing, made from photographs and memory, not victims. Not case numbers, faces. Margaret Whitmore attended every day with Thomas's silver train pin on her coat. Colonel Hayes attended when his health allowed. Noah came whenever testimony involved Grace's route. Daniel testified in shackles. He kept his voice steady when he described Michael's call. Nathan testified too. He described the train, the storm, the body, the wounds, the letters, Vel, the folder, the recorder. He was asked directly whether the passengers had killed Victor Blackwell. The courtroom held its breath. Nathan answered carefully. Victor Blackwell died from multiple stab wounds inflicted during a sequence of confrontations that he and Caleb Vale helped create by knowingly gathering victims' families, threatening them, and attempting to control the aftermath. The attorney pressed, "That was not my question." Nathan looked at the jury. "No, but it is the truth." In the end, Caleb Vale was sentenced to spend the rest of his life in prison. Others fell with him. Not all. Never all. Some escaped. Some bought delays. Some died before trial. Some hid money well enough to remain comfortable in countries without extradition. Justice did not arrive as a clean storm. It arrived like winter thaw. Slow, messy, uneven, but real. On the first anniversary of Victor Blackwell's death, Nathan received a package. No return address. Inside was a small framed drawing, the Silver Meridian under snow. Not dark, not ominous, lit from within. On the platform stood 6 figures, not clearly detailed, but recognizable if you knew the story. A woman holding a passport, a soldier holding a photograph, a young man with his hands in his pockets, an artist with a sketchbook, an old woman with a cross, a conductor with a lantern. In the train window, faint but visible, were many faces. At the bottom of the drawing, Lily had written one sentence. Some stories do not end when the train stops. Nathan hung it near his desk. That night, for the first time in years, he slept without dreaming of locked rooms. But near dawn, he woke anyway. Old habits. He made coffee and stood by the window of his apartment as the city slowly brightened. A train horn sounded somewhere far away. Nathan listened until it faded. Then he sat at his desk and opened a new notebook. On the first page, he wrote the names: Emily Hayes, Grace Reed, Anna Carter, Thomas Whitmore, Michael Brooks, Evelyn Parker. Then he paused. There were more, of course. Dozens, hundreds, some known, some still hidden. He turned to the next page and wrote another sentence. The case is not closed simply because someone has been punished. Outside, mourning spread over the city. People woke. Cars moved. Newspapers landed on doorsteps. Somewhere, a mother who had waited years received a call. Somewhere, a survivor learned that the world had finally said the word believed. Somewhere, a man who thought his money could erase memory discovered that records outlive fear. And somewhere in a rail yard, the Silver Meridian sat silent beneath the sky, no longer carrying passengers through the mountains, no longer serving brandy beneath crystal lamps, no longer pretending elegance could hide rot. But if anyone passed near it late at night, when fog moved low across the tracks and the city noise faded, they might imagine hearing the old train breathe. They might imagine the wheels beginning to turn. They might imagine a clock striking 11:47, and they might understand that every train carries more than passengers. Some carry secrets, some carry grief, some carry people running from the past, and some, only once in a lifetime, carry the past directly to the people who made it. On that night in the mountains, Victor Blackwell boarded the Silver Meridian, believing he had gathered loose ends. He believed he could frighten them, buy them, break them, bury them. He believed silence was a thing he owned. But silence does not belong to the powerful forever. Sometimes it sits quietly for years. Sometimes it waits in old women's prayers, in soldiers' photographs, in brothers' sleepless anger, in artists' notebooks, in bruises hidden beneath sleeves, in conductors carrying drinks with shaking hands. Sometimes silence boards a train at midnight. Sometimes it takes a seat in first class. Sometimes it listens while evil laughs. And sometimes, when the mountains close in, when the snow covers the tracks, when the world is too far away to interrupt, silence finally stands up. Victor Blackwell died before sunrise. But the story did not end with his last breath. It began there, because by morning, the train had carried his body into the city, and with it, the names he tried to bury. And once those names reached daylight, they did what names always do when spoken after long silence. They refused to disappear again.